LoveLore Library. Chapter 1084. Obviously, Lu Xinyang's words reminded Yang Ming that this was the purpose of these people's crimes. In this way, it could be explained why they acted like they were performing a mission when they robbed the bank, and why they threw the stolen money on the roadside. In fact, the purpose of the employer was very simple. That was to confuse everyone's eyes and make people think that this group of people was the kind of gang that committed crimes continuously, not specifically for the jewelry. However, why did the employer want to create such an illusion? These people were hired by the employer. Even if they were specifically targeting the jewelry, there would be nothing wrong with it. This involved a problem, which was the internal crime problem that Sun Jia once said. In other words, only the employer was an insider, so he would be so superfluous to get rid of the relationship. However, the more he did this, the more his identity was exposed. Yang Ming called Qin Fei again, intending to confirm his and Lu Xinyang's guess. "Uncle Qin, I want to ask. What will those people do after they succeed?" According to their account, after they succeed, they will spray their Mark SB on the exhibition hall. Then, they will take the looted jewelry and hand it over at the crossroads in front of the exhibition center. However, I sent people there, but they didn't get anything. Probably, the things here have alarmed the employer behind the scenes. Qin Fei said, "If we want to catch the person behind the scenes, it will be a bit difficult." "I got it." Yang Ming nodded after listening to Qin Fei's words and fell into contemplation. Could it be that the matter is solved like this? Although the behind-the-scenes instigator was not found, at least all the people he hired were dealt with. However, this had no impact on the behind-the-scenes employer. These people were caught, but he would not lose anything. Instead, he did not even need to pay the remuneration. This kind of mercenary group was like this. If they succeeded, they would get the money. If they failed or died, they would have to bear the consequences themselves. This made Yang Ming very uncomfortable. It seems that I can relax some vigilance in the future. Wait. Yang Ming's heart was suddenly shocked. He always felt that there was something wrong that he didn't consider. Things can't be so simple. With the power of the behind-the-scenes employer, didn't he leave a backup plan? Did he pin all his hopes on these mercenaries? Most importantly, the second robbery was obviously different from the first one. During the first robbery, it was obvious that most of the time, it was done quickly. Before the police arrived, the fight was over. But the second time was different. A jewelry robbery was not like a bank robbery. It was impossible to end it as quickly as a bank robbery. Moreover, the security at the jewelry exhibition was obviously much tighter than that of the small savings bank. So, the implementation was much more difficult, and it was easy to deviate. The behind-the-scenes employer would definitely take this into consideration. If the behind-the-scenes employer had considered this and did this, then there was only one possibility left, and that was that this robbery was just a bluff, and the real deal was yet to come. On Qin Fei's side, there was news again. The person who smashed the display case with the LED camera was also hired. After receiving 10 million from others, he did the previous action. The intention was not to rob. He was only following the instructions of his client. He attracted the attention of the security guards in the exhibition area on the first day and acted on the second day. Now, although they couldn't clearly determine whether this person had any internal connection with the robbers, judging from the time of the incident, it should be close to the mark. First of all, the behind-the-scenes employer used the man in the blue down jacket as the first bait to attract the attention of the exhibition area's security guards. When the man in the blue down jacket made an extreme move, the robber gang implemented the robbery plan. Although they were two completely unrelated groups of people, it was very likely that they were hired by the same person at the same time. In this case, then these two groups of people completed the purpose of creating a diversion. However, this diversion was likely to be a cover-up. The behind-the-scenes person hadn't used his trump card yet. Yang Ming didn't dare to relax his vigilance. Yang Ming didn't believe that the behind-the-scenes person didn't have his own strength. For such an important plan, it was difficult to complete it by hiring people without his own people. Or, he simply thought that it was difficult to complete the task by relying on these mercenaries. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so confident and bold to let them rob the jewelry. Because, he probably didn't think that they could succeed at all. The value of the jewels was enormous. Compared to the remuneration he paid to the mercenaries, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. These mercenaries would definitely understand the value of the jewels in advance. After they obtained the jewels, it would be foolish of them to hand over the jewels. In other words, the hirer only used these mercenaries as gunmen. As for the delivery at the crossroads, the hirer probably didn't send anyone to pick them up. Thinking of this, Yang Ming also had a general idea of the whole incident. Still do your best. Yang Ming told Li Chang, especially tonight, don't take it lightly. The exhibition center closed smoothly like yesterday. The tourists withdrew from the exhibition hall, and the merchants were also packing up their showcases in an orderly manner. In the exhibition area, the showcases that were destroyed before had been replaced with new ones. The security guards on duty were also on full alert. Today's events made them particularly nervous. This night was longer than yesterday. After all, nothing happened during the day yesterday. Although everyone was nervous, it wasn't to such an extent. Today was different. No one could guarantee that the person behind the scenes would not make trouble again if he didn't succeed. None of this could have been predicted. Yang Ming was still sitting in a commercial car near the exhibition center, quietly watching the movements of the entire exhibition hall. The night passed like this. There was no change as Yang Ming expected. It was quiet as if the scene didn't happen during the day. Yang Ming breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt a little strange. The other party couldn't have just given up, right? Logically, it shouldn't be. The other party must be waiting for an opportunity to make a move again, but when to make a move was not something he could guess. Lu Xinyang didn't have any ideas about this. I'm not Zhuge Liang, naturally, I can't predict it. Lu Xinyang shrugged and smiled bitterly. Maybe it's still daytime, maybe it's night, maybe it's daylight robbery, maybe it's stealing. It's all possible. Yang Ming naturally knew that things didn't happen. Who could say for sure? However, what made Yang Ming feel strange was that there was no movement during the third day. Until it was time for the exhibition hall to close, the tourists left again, and there was no situation similar to yesterday. At night, although Yang Ming didn't relax his vigilance, it was still a quiet night. The fourth day and the fourth night were still the same. It was so quiet that it was scary. It was as if the other party had really given up, making Yang Ming helpless. I probably guessed the other party's intention. On the fifth night, Lu Xinyang hesitated and said to Yang Ming. Lu Xinyang only accompanied Yang Ming at night. He slept during the day, so he was particularly energetic. However, Yang Ming couldn't sleep. In the past 5 days, the total time of sleep was only about 10 hours. Although Yang Ming had undergone strict training, he was somewhat exhausted at the moment. His eyes were bloodshot. He was awake, but he had overdrawn his physical strength. What's the intention? Yang Ming was still focused on locking the exhibition center with his special ability. The behind-the-scenes may have guessed it. After the incident on the second day, we will be more vigilant. Lu Xinyang analyzed, if nothing happens on the third day, we still have to be vigilant on the fourth day. The same is true on the fifth day. There is a saying that the first drum builds up the spirit, the second drum weakens the spirit, and the third drum weakens the spirit. We are constantly on guard every day, so there will definitely be times when we are tired. And the last day is the most tiring and also the most relaxed day. Probably everyone will think that everything will be fine after the last night, but it is often the most dangerous time. Our people are already exhausted at that time. It will be very easy for the behind the scenes to carry out robbery or theft. Indeed. Yang Ming nodded in agreement. So, tomorrow night and the day after tomorrow are the most dangerous times. It should be like this. Lu Xinyang nodded. Of course, this is just my guess. The day after tomorrow was the last day of the exhibition. After the end, various manufacturers and owners of jewelry would withdraw the jewelry on display. Whether there would be any accidents after the withdrawal was none of Yang Ming's business. In other words, the period before the withdrawal of jewelry was what Yang Ming should pay attention to and be on guard. The 6th day passed very smoothly. Sure enough, as Lu Xinyang expected, the peak period of the theft was concentrated on the 6th night and the 7th day. The possibility of the theft was the highest on the 6th night. Under the deliberate arrangement of Yang Ming, the security guards on duty began to show signs of drowsiness. Even the security guards patrolling outside began to slack off. Of course, in this way, Yang Ming made such an abnormal posture to warn the behind the scenes. Because of the first 5 nights, all the security guards were in a state of alert at all times. Only on the last night, the security guards became tired. This obvious abnormal situation couldn't be attributed to fatigue on the 2nd and exhaustion on the 3rd. People with discerning eyes could see that this posture was intentional. Although Yang Ming was also very interested in the behind the scenes, he also understood that even if he caught the thief sent by the behind the scenes again, there wouldn't be much gain. The person sent couldn't know too much. If the person knew too much, the behind the scenes wouldn't send him over. Therefore, Yang Ming really didn't want to do useless work and create more problems. Now that he had successfully passed the jewelry exhibition, he would talk about the other things later. Of course, if this posture couldn't scare away the person behind the scenes, Yang Ming didn't mind playing with him again. It would be like what Sun Jie said. Yang Ming sat in the business car and still watched the exhibition hall of the entire exhibition center. The first half of the night passed. There was no anomaly. About 3:00 in the morning, a black Mercedes-Benz van stopped on the side of the road at an intersection from the exhibition center. After the car was turned off, no one immediately got off. The exhibition center wasn't in the center of the city, but in a place that was relatively remote from the commercial area. There were few residential areas nearby, and they were all large enterprises and science and technology parks. It was fine during the day, but at night, there was basically no one. It was precisely because of this that Yang Ming was able to explore the movement of about 1 kilometer around the exhibition center. Basically, they were still objects. As long as an animal appeared, Yang Ming would immediately detect it. Therefore, when the Mercedes-Benz van stopped on the side of the road, Yang Ming was alerted. Regardless of whether anyone got off the car or not, Yang Ming used his special ability to check the people in the car. There weren't many people in the car. There were only 2 people. One was the driver, and the other was a very thin man in black. At this moment, he was using an infrared night vision device to observe the situation outside the window. Yang Ming's heart was shocked. The main character was finally here. Yang Ming naturally didn't believe that ordinary citizens would take an infrared night vision device to look at the scenery on the street in the middle of the night. What this person did was obviously to observe whether there was an ambush nearby. Yang Ming didn't have the energy to set up a hidden sentry within 1 kilometer of the exhibition center, and the observation results of that person obviously satisfied him. After the black-shirt man observed for a while, he put away the infrared night vision device and put another pair of infrared night vision goggles on his face. Although the night vision goggles and night vision goggles could be used for night vision, they weren't as powerful and professional as the night vision goggles. The black-shirted man put a backpack on his shoulder, then quickly jumped off the car and sneaked in the direction of the exhibition center. Yang Ming smiled slightly and didn't give any instructions to Li Chang because Yang Ming also wanted to see Li Chang's ability to adapt. Even if the black-shirted man succeeded in the end, wasn't there still an Oreo behind? The black-shirted man lurked near the exhibition center, but he didn't approach directly. Instead, he used binoculars to observe the security situation of the exhibition center. When he saw the scene that Yang Ming deliberately arranged, he was obviously stunned. He had probably never seen such tired security guards before. One by one, they walked around slowly, and one guy even squatted in the corner and snored. The black-shirted man's expression changed. His face was full of doubts and hesitation. Yang Ming observed the black-shirted man with some amusement. It seemed that his arrangement worked, and it made the black-shirted man feel a certain psychological pressure. Sure enough, the black-shirted man didn't dare to make a decision. Instead, he took out his phone and dialed a phone number. Unfortunately, he used the shortcut key to dial. Yang Ming couldn't see the phone number of the person behind the scenes. However, even if he saw it, it was probably a temporary number. With the caution of the person behind the scenes, he wouldn't give himself away on these subtle things. Yang Ming naturally didn't care about this anymore. He carefully stared at the black-shirted man's lips, wanting to see what he said. "Boss, there is something strange in the exhibition hall," the black-shirted man said concisely. "Oh. What's strange?" Yang Ming naturally couldn't hear the voice on the other side of the phone. Yang Ming could read lips, but he couldn't understand the mobile phone signal. The security guards patrolling near the exhibition hall are all lazy. They are not strict at all. They are like two different people during the day, said the black-shirted man. At this moment, Yang Ming could be completely sure that this black-shirted man came for the jewelry in the exhibition hall. Lazy? Like two different people. After the boss listened to the black-shirted man's words, he thought for a moment and said, "Hee hee, I didn't expect that Yang Ming would also play tricks when I play tricks. He is playing hard to get. He wants to scare us directly, but he will be disappointed. Continue to act according to the original plan." "Okay, I understand." The black-shirted man nodded and hung up the phone. Although Yang Ming didn't know what the boss said to the black-shirted man, according to the black-shirted man's performance, the behind-the-scenes must have given him an order to continue the operation. The boss hung up the phone, snorted coldly, and said to another young man in his 30s next to him, "Yang Ming played hard to get for me, making all the security guards pretend to be very lazy. Oh? This Yang Ming is quite smart." After the young military advisor listened, he snorted with some disdain. He actually guessed that we would act tonight. In fact, it's not difficult to guess. There was nothing wrong the previous few nights. Tonight is the last night. If we don't act tonight, we will do it tomorrow morning, said the boss. However, this is more suitable for our action. The more slack he is, the higher the chance we have to succeed. The young man said, "Even if they are pretending, they will certainly not be as serious as usual." "That makes sense." The boss nodded and said, "I hope this operation won't disappoint me. It doesn't matter even if it doesn't succeed. This is just the beginning." The young man said indifferently, "There are still many tricks in the future. I hope Yang Ming doesn't die early. Otherwise, there really won't be anyone to play with." The boss really admired the young man at this time. This person was really born to be sarcastic. The plan this time is really good. The SB mercenaries only paid a deposit of $500,000. As you expected, these people were all taken care of by Yang Ming. We don't even have to pay the rest of the commission. Ha! They are all going to die. Humph. The young man smiled proudly, but when he thought that he still had to rely on the boss, he put on a flattering smile. However, although I know that Yang Ming is very powerful, if you didn't tell me some other things about Yang Ming, I wouldn't have come up with this plan. After all, I thought that Yang Ming couldn't kill the mercenaries no matter how powerful he was. Chapter 1085. The boss didn't care much about the young man's flattery. He also knew that the two people were only in a cooperative relationship at the moment, each taking what they needed. However, the boss felt that this person was much more reliable than Elder Yu. That idiot Elder Yu was so arrogant every day, but he didn't understand one thing. In the end, not only did he spend a lot of sponsorship funds, but he also screwed things up. He preached all day long that he was going to practice some kind of evil technique to become invulnerable, but in the end, didn't he run away with his tail between his legs? But now this military advisor was different. Although his moves were a bit wretched, the winner was the king and the loser was the thief. It didn't matter how he achieved his goal. What was important was the result, not the process. Therefore, the boss didn't think about how to kill Yang Ming openly. As long as he could kill him, he didn't care how he did it. If this matter is successful, you will be a hero. The boss said to the young man, I will let you get back everything you want. Are you telling the truth? The young man looked at the boss in disbelief. His original purpose was to kill Yang Ming for revenge, so he relied on the boss's support, but he didn't expect to get back some of the things he wanted after the matter was done. Of course, Yang Ming's businesses are really nothing in my eyes. What I want is... The boss paused after saying this and didn't continue, but anyone knew that what he wanted must be more important than money. However, the boss didn't say much, and the young man didn't ask much. He didn't want to know what kind of deep hatred there was between the boss and Yang Ming. It had nothing to do with him. The man in black quietly lurked toward the exhibition hall. He did not enter from the entrance of the exhibition center, but went around to the edge of the wall closest to the exhibition area, ready to climb over the wall. The man in black was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he took out a camera detection radar device from his backpack and began to scan the position of the various probes in the exhibition center's courtyard. Most of the cameras used wireless signal transmission. After all, it was not convenient to arrange and install the cameras with wires. Moreover, maintenance and replacement were also a big problem. Before the jewelry exhibition, the convention and exhibition center would host large-scale exhibition activities such as clothing exhibitions and car shows. Therefore, there was no need for strict security measures. There were no cameras installed in the courtyard of the convention and exhibition center. Only a few cameras were installed in the parking lot at the entrance. After the Ming Yang Company was responsible for the security of the jewelry exhibition, they installed a large number of wireless cameras in the courtyard as surveillance equipment. Although the convenience of a wireless camera was greater, there was a certain gap between its security and a wired camera. When the man in black detected the position of the nearest camera that could capture him, he took out another device and connected it to a small laptop. Yang Ming frowned. He didn't expect the man in black to be so professional. What he was doing now should be releasing interference signals to affect the normal operation of the camera. Sure enough, the man in black first used the device to call up the signal frequency range of the wireless camera. After locking the range, he began to use the computer to capture the data packets exchanged between the camera and the server to analyze the key. Soon, a series of binary numbers appeared on the man in black's computer. The man in black opened another software and copied it in the password column of the software. Then, he clicked on the switch button. At this point, the camera was completely hijacked. The picture sent from the camera to the host computer also became the picture in the man in black's computer. The picture may have been recorded in advance, or it was a video of the location shot by the camera at night. In this way, it was difficult for the people in the monitoring room to find that the pictures sent by the camera had become another set of replaced pictures. After the replacement was completed, the man in black began to search for the cameras located near the exhibition area inside the exhibition hall. Until he found the location and frequency of the cameras, he performed the previous decryption operation one by one. He hijacked each camera one by one and replaced it with the video in his laptop. After doing all this, the man in black carefully put the laptop on the ground and covered it with the black canvas in his backpack. Although there were few people nearby, who could guarantee that no one would pass by? If it was stolen as a good thing, then the man in black's action would be over. After covering up these instruments, the man in black looked around again until he couldn't see anything special. Then, he slowly climbed up the wall. The man in black's movements were very skillful. Like a gecko, he jumped into the wall of the exhibition center without making any sound. After landing, the man in black quickly lay on the ground and hid his figure in the pile of withered grass and withered branches to avoid the sight of the patrolling security guards. Judging from the figure of the man in black, he was obviously a professional thief. However, judging from the actions of the person behind the scenes, the people he sent were obviously not mediocre. However, Yang Ming was still not sure whether the men of sacrifice he encountered at Wang Xiaoyan's house and this time were manipulated by the same person behind the scenes. Most of the security guards patrolling the periphery were the security guards of the Ming Yang Company. It was definitely enough to deal with ordinary thieves, but it was obviously not enough to deal with such a professional. Judging from his dexterity, Yang Ming thought that he was almost on par with him. The man in black waited for a pair of patrolling security guards to pass by, then he began to quickly move his body and crawl in the direction of the exhibition hall. The area of the exhibition center was quite large. No matter how many people there were in Yang Ming's security company, it was impossible to have a sentry every short distance. In that case, even if the number of people was 10 times more, it was not enough. The camera had been taken care of by the man in black, so he didn't need to care about this. He only needed to avoid the patrolling people. After the first wave of patrolling people went away, the man in black quickly approached the exhibition hall and stopped in front of a window on the side of the exhibition area. The man in black took out something similar to a spray can from his backpack, but the shape was very special. Even Yang Ming had not seen it before. It should be a professional theft tool. The man in black sprayed a few times on the protective window with the spray can. After a while, he gently bent it with his hand, and the iron bar of the protective window was broken. Yang Ming understood at this time that the thing in the spray can was probably a highly corrosive liquid such as concentrated sulfuric acid solution. It could quickly dissolve the steel bar of the protective window. Obviously, its corrosiveness was not ordinary. It was just not clear what the material of this spray can was made of. It was so sturdy that nothing happened after it was filled with highly corrosive liquid. However, some secret folk tools were really difficult to explain clearly. Perhaps everything had its vanquisher. Just like his flying needle, it would dissolve when it came into contact with blood. The liquid in the spray bottle would probably only react and it came into contact with iron. Although it was somewhat inexplicable from a chemical point of view, there were too many phenomena in the world that could not be explained by science. Yang Ming did not delve into this issue, but carefully watched the man in black's actions. After taking off all the protective iron bars, the man in black took out something similar to a glass knife from his backpack. The man in black just wanted to touch the glass of the exhibition hall with the glass knife, but he suddenly stopped. The glass of the exhibition hall was covered with a device similar to a touch screen. It would be turned on after the exhibition hall was closed. As long as there was an external force touching it, the alarm would go off. Obviously, the man in black also found that something was wrong with the glass. The man in black put the glass knife aside and began to look for the wire of the touch screen at the edge of the glass. This kind of touch screen was a product a few years ago. The technical content was not high. Because the exhibition center had been built for some time, these things had not been updated. Although Yang Ming saw the drawbacks of this before, he couldn't help it. He was only temporarily using the exhibition hall for 7 days. It was impossible to completely transform the exhibition hall. If the exhibition hall paid for the renovation, the exhibition hall would not take the money. Even if Yang Ming took the money himself, it was obviously too late. Therefore, many things could only be used. Everything could only rely on Yang Ming's special ability to monitor the exhibition hall in all directions. Yang Ming rubbed his aching temples. It seemed that this man in black was not simple. Yang Ming didn't see this kind of touchscreen glass in the information that Fong Tian gave him before. Yang Ming himself didn't know about it. The previous generation of the alarm installed on the glass relied on the vibration when the glass was broken to trigger the alarm, but this alarm was obviously ineffective against the glass that was cut with a glass knife. The second generation was this kind of touchscreen type. Although the sensitivity of this kind of alarm system was high, it was easy to crack. There was also a drawback. That was, the sensitivity was a bit too high. As long as a little force was used to touch the touch panel on the glass, it would trigger the alarm. In this way, whether it was windy or rainy, it was possible to cause false alarms. Therefore, this kind of alarm device was generally only activated when there was a situation. It was usually turned off. Now the common use was the kind of glass that was inlaid with fine wires in the middle. Although the cost of this kind of glass was high, it was very practical and difficult to crack. As long as the wires in the glass were broken, it would trigger the alarm. In other words, whether it was smashed glass or glass cut with a knife, it would trigger the alarm. It was difficult to crack, but it was not impossible to crack it. Yang Ming found a similar solution in the CD that Fong Tian gave him. Since Yang Ming knew, he believed that this man in black should also know. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to find the touch panel on the glass now. Soon, the man in black found the wire of the touch panel from the edge of the window. He took out the insulating pliers from his backpack and carefully cut off the wire on the touch panel. At this point, the alarm system on the glass window was useless for the man in black. Because the touch panel was the most common resistive touch panel, it would not cause any consequences after cutting off the wire. The man in black forcefully removed the touch panel, revealing the glass behind it. The man in black began to cut the glass with a special glass knife. This is plexiglass. I don't know what glass knife the man in black used. It can actually cut plexiglass. No, next, Yang Ming saw what the man in black was holding. It was a small laser cutter. It was not a glass knife. The man in black first used a suction cup to suck the glass, and then carefully used the laser cutter to cut off a small piece of glass. The small glass was only as thick as a finger. It was impossible for people to enter. Yang Ming didn't know what he was going to do. Just as Yang Ming wondered what he was going to do by cutting such a small piece of glass, the man in black began to act. He took out a tube-shaped thing from his backpack and connected it to the backpack. Yang Ming used his X-ray vision to look at the situation in the backpack. The end of the tube was connected to something like an air pump. The man in black put the tube into the previously cut glass hole, and then opened the valve at the end of the tube. Sleeping incense. Yang Ming finally understood what the man in black wanted to do. What he didn't expect was that he would actually come up with such a dirty trick. However, although this kind of trick was despised in the underworld, Yang Ming didn't think much of it. This kind of trick was often used by assassins when performing tasks. Yang Ming didn't know if this trick was common in the theft world. At least, Yang Ming didn't see anything wrong with it. Instead, he felt that the man in black did things in an orderly manner. If he didn't make a mistake, this guy would also be a good person. Yang Ming wanted to make friends with him. It was estimated that the sleeping incense was a special kind of colorless and odorless product, so the security guard in the room didn't notice anything and fell into the man in black's trap. Yang Ming shook his head helplessly. The man in black's calmness and technique when he acted were not under his own. Yang Ming even had an illusion that if he performed this task, he would follow the same route as the man in black. It was just that Yang Ming learned from Feng Tian and trained in Europe. It was not surprising that he had this trick. However, this man in black made Yang Ming more and more surprised. He didn't know which organization he belonged to. If he could really make friends with him and then subdue him, it would be a big help for him in the future. It was no wonder that the people in the room were so easily taken care of by the man in black without being aware of it. High-tech, keen skills, and sensitive sleeping incense. It wasn't easy to not succeed. Li Chang and others were first-class fighters in fighting and assassination, but when it came to this kind of trick, they couldn't do it. Yang Ming thought that if he did it himself, it was just a so-so, so it was reasonable that Li Chang and others didn't notice it. After all the people in the room fell to the ground, the man in black nodded with satisfaction. He put away the tube of sleeping incense, and then quickly put a piece of medicine-like thing in his mouth. It should be the antidote of the sleeping incense. The man in black once again repeated the action. This time, it was a large piece of glass that was cut off. The glass was carefully sucked down with a suction cup and thrown aside. The man in black quickly entered the exhibition area in the exhibition hall. It was only a matter of time before the man in black could succeed. Yang Ming could already be sure of this. The opponent he faced was too strong. Even if Li Chang and others didn't protect the jewelry, Yang Ming wouldn't blame them. After the man in black entered the exhibition area, he sent a text message to the driver waiting in the Mercedes-Benz commercial car according to the prior agreement. Of course, although it was just a small action, it couldn't escape Yang Ming's eyes. Yang Ming glanced at the intersection near the exhibition hall, where the Mercedes-Benz commercial car was parked. Sure enough, the driver took out his mobile phone and glanced at it. The content on the screen was, "Everything is according to plan." This was probably edited in advance, because Yang Ming didn't see any text messages from the man in black on the mobile phone. After the driver received the text message, he started the car and drove in the direction of the exhibition center. The driving speed was neither too fast nor too slow. Obviously, it was like a normal passing vehicle. On the other side, the man in black had begun to cut the display case with a laser cutter. Although the glass of the display case used the current most popular built-in anti-theft system, because the display case was exposed in the hall, there must be a wire at the end of the display case to connect the power supply and the alarm device. He just had to cut the power supply and the alarm device before cutting it. The man in black skillfully cut each display case. After cutting it, he put the corresponding jewelry into the bag. When the black Mercedes-Benz commercial car was about to approach this side, Yang Ming knew that he should make a move. With a gentle glass fragment, one of the tires of the Mercedes-Benz was deflated. The driver obviously felt that something was wrong with the car, but he didn't hear any strange sounds, and no pedestrians appeared on the road. Because he was in a hurry to meet the man in black, the driver cursed anxiously and jumped out of the driver's seat. Motherfucker, why did it have to go wrong at this time? The driver got out of the car and circled around the Mercedes-Benz. He found that the right front tire was pierced by glass fragments, and the glass fragments were still embedded in the tire. The driver had no choice but to quickly remove the spare tire and jack from the car. He quickly changed the tire, wiping the sweat on his forehead as he changed the tire. Of course, what he didn't expect was that after he turned the last screw, a flying needle would sink into his neck. The driver slowly fell to the ground, motionless. "Catch him, bring him back to the car, and wait for me." Yang Ming instructed Lu Xinyang. Although Lu Xinyang's identity was a military advisor, he usually trained with Li Chang and the others. It was just that the training intensity was a little worse, so it was not a problem to carry a person back to the car. Yang Ming took off the driver's clothes and put them on himself. After Lu Xinyang took the driver away, he got in the car, started the car, and drove in the direction of the exhibition center. Chapter 1086. Because of the urgency of the time, Yang Ming didn't have time to wake up the driver and ask him what the specific plan was. Because it took some time to change the spare tire, if Yang Ming wasted more time, then the black-shirt man would not see the car to pick him up after he came out. It was likely that there would be some unexpected changes. However, it was not difficult to imagine that the driver could only pick up the black-shirt man now, so Yang Ming just had to park the car near the location where the black-shirt man put the notebook and the signal jammer. After getting in the car, Yang Ming lowered his hat a little, and then used the disguise function of the glasses to transform himself into the driver's appearance. The reason for doing this was that he was afraid that if there was really a secret signal, it would cause some trouble if he couldn't answer it. Since he had become the driver's appearance, the appearance matched. Even if the black-shirt man was suspicious, he wouldn't be too suspicious. After driving the car to the place where the black-shirt man jumped over the wall, Yang Ming stopped the car and looked into the courtyard of the exhibition center. The black-shirt man had completed the theft and was quickly jumping over the wall. He put away the notebook and signal jammer that were placed on the ground before. The black-shirt man glanced at the Mercedes-Benz business car in front of him, quickly opened the door, jumped into the car, and said to Yang Ming, "Drive." He didn't speak, but he deliberately looked back at the black-shirt man to let the black-shirt man confirm that the driver was not changed. Sure enough, after the black-shirt man saw Yang Ming's appearance, he didn't have any doubts at all. Instead, he sighed and said, "The security here is just a so-so." Yang Ming started the car, and the black-shirt man sat quietly in the back seat of the car without saying a word. Yang Ming was a bit baffled. At least, he should send a message or call the behind-the-scenes boss to report, right? Did he finish the report? Indeed, when Yang Ming seized the car, he didn't monitor the movements of the black-shirt man. But logically speaking, before the black-shirt man escaped from the exhibition center, he shouldn't have the time to report his achievements, right? Although Yang Ming had doubts in his heart, he didn't ask too much. Yang Ming didn't want to reveal his identity too quickly because Yang Ming wanted to see if the man in black would contact the boss during this time and leak some more clues. However, it was obvious that the black-shirt man did not intend to speak again. Yang Ming was also patient. He slowly drove the car. Finally, the black-shirt man noticed that something was wrong. "Where are you going?" The man in black was shocked. "Didn't the boss tell you to send me directly to the airport?" After Yang Ming listened to the black-shirt man's words, he quickly made a judgment. This black-shirt man was obviously not very familiar with the previous driver, so he would say such a thing. That would make things easier. "No, the boss just told me to send you to hell," Yang Ming said faintly. "What?" The black-shirt man widened his eyes in disbelief. "Impossible. In this world, nothing is impossible." Yang Ming said with a chuckle, "In front of benefits, there is no possibility or impossible." What are you going to do to me?" the black-shirt man asked in a panic. Although he was good at stealing, when it came to fighting and killing, he wasn't good at it. The driver transformed by Yang Ming was also tall and sturdy. He was much stronger than the black-shirt man. In terms of fighting, the black-shirt man couldn't be his opponent. "Now, there is a way for me to let you go. That is to give me half of the jewelry you stole. Let's split it evenly." As Yang Ming said this, he turned around and showed a greedy expression on his face. The black-shirt man wasn't stupid. When he saw Yang Ming's appearance, his heart trembled. He said, "I'm afraid it wasn't the boss who asked you to kill me. It was you who was greedy, right?" Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect the black-shirt man to association this. However, since he said so, Yang Ming simply sneered and said, "Humph, since you know, hurry up and divide the loot. Otherwise, I will kill you directly." Ha! Ha! After the black-shirt man heard Yang Ming's words, instead of being shocked, he laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Yang Ming was a little puzzled. "The boss took me in when I was young and taught me the skills. It is impossible for him to kill me." The black-shirt man said to Yang Ming with some ridicule, "So, the only possibility is that you are greedy. I really don't understand why the boss would give such an important thing to you and say that you are a trustworthy person." Yang Ming thought, the driver has changed. Of course, it is different. Only you are an idiot who thinks that I am the original person. It is useless to say so much. Where are the things? If you don't take them, I will do it myself. Things? Of course, they are not in my hands. The black-shirt man laughed and said, "Don't you know? The things have already been transferred. How can I bring them with me? The boss arranged for me to immediately leave for Macau to lie low after the mission. How can I take the things with me?" Yang Ming was shocked in his heart. He looked into the black-shirt man's backpack with his special ability. Sure enough, except for some tools, there was no jewelry in it. Yang Ming didn't expect that there would be such a change during this time. During the short time when he seized the car, he didn't monitor the black-shirt man. The black-shirt man just happened to complete the transfer of the jewelry during that time. "Where did you transfer it?" Yang Ming frowned and asked anxiously. "It doesn't matter if I tell you. I just threw it in the garbage bin in the courtyard of the exhibition center. Every day at 4:00 in the morning is the garbage transfer time. Now it is already 4:10. The things have already been transferred." Ha 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 ha. The black-shirt man smiled proudly. "How is it? You didn't expect it, right? I advise you to put away your evil intentions and apologize to the boss. Maybe the boss will forgive you." The shock in Yang Ming's heart could be imagined. Man proposes but God disposes. I expected all aspects and thought that everything was under my control, but I didn't expect that the black-shirt man actually played such a trick and transferred the jewelry before getting on the car. Yang Ming looked at the clock on the dashboard of the car. It was already 4:12 in the morning. It seemed that the black-shirt man's time of crime was calculated in detail. It was just a few minutes before the garbage transfer, and then the stolen goods could be quickly transferred. It was estimated that the monitoring room must not have found anything wrong. The people in the exhibition area who were knocked out by the black-shirt man had not yet woken up, so no one would find that the jewelry had been stolen. They wouldn't care about the garbage transfer every day. Yang Ming sighed. In the past few days, there were garbage transfer trucks transferring garbage every night. Everyone was accustomed to it. Perhaps, the driver of the garbage specialist truck had long been controlled by the black-shirt man. Now, the jewelry must have fallen into the hands of the mastermind. Yang Ming had no way to regret it. Fortunately, the black-shirt man and the driver were still in his hands. Yang Ming could still get some clues from them. Listening to the black-shirt man, it seemed that he had been taken in by the mastermind since he was a child. He was one of the people close to the mastermind. Yang Ming hoped that he could know some inside information. "You still don't want to send me to the airport? I can treat this as if it didn't happen," the black-shirt man told Yang Ming. He was not stupid. He wanted to stabilize Yang Ming first. Otherwise, if he angered Yang Ming, it would not be worth it if he hurt him. As for after he escaped, the boss had his own way to punish the traitor. "Sorry, I still can't send you to the airport. Yang Ming parked the car on a sparsely populated road. He got out of the car and went directly to the back of the car. However, before getting on the car, Yang Ming restored his original appearance. You, what are you doing? The black-shirted man saw Yang Ming get off the car and come to the back. He didn't know what Yang Ming was going to do, but he didn't think that he could escape. With the driver's physique and the car in his hand, he couldn't escape at all. However, after seeing Yang Ming get on the car, the black-shirted man was stunned. He was shocked. You, who are you? We just talked. Your memory isn't very good. Yang Ming got on the car and sat directly next to the black-shirted man. However, his left hand was pressing the major acupuncture point on the black-shirted man's waist. As long as the black-shirted man had a slight movement, he would be paralyzed by Yang Ming. The black-shirted man was obviously also proficient in the acupuncture points of the human body. For Yang Ming's sudden move, his face suddenly had a cold sweat. In their line of work, if the limbs were paralyzed, it was equivalent to a disabled person. You, just now. The black-shirted man was obviously still not used to it. He didn't understand why Yang Ming changed people in such a short time. It was also me just now. Haven't you heard of the disguise technique? Yang Ming said disdainfully, the real driver has already been killed by me. I am still misunderstood by you even after I died. I am really unlucky. You, who are you? How do you know our actions? The black-shirted man was obviously more afraid of Yang Ming at this moment. The driver was one of his own people anyway. Yang Ming, a stranger, suddenly appeared in front of him, and he knew his robbery plan very well. It was reasonable to say that his actions were confidential. It was impossible for anyone to know. Who am I? Good question. Yang Ming said faintly, I am the person in charge of the security work of this jewelry exhibition. You stole from my site, and you still ask me who I am. It turned out to be you. No wonder. The black-shirted man heard Yang Ming's words and suddenly said, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. I thought the plan was perfect. I didn't expect you to play such a trick. But it doesn't matter. The jewelry is not on me. This was the pain in Yang Ming's heart. He originally thought that the matter could be solved satisfactorily. If he knew this, he should have informed Li Chang to arrest the black-shirted man before he stole the treasure. He had made such a mistake because he had been too arrogant. I thought that after the black-shirted man stole the treasure, I would do a double cross and dig out the behind-the-scenes boss to force them to submit. However, I didn't expect the other party to be smarter and directly transfer the jewelry. Yang Ming knew that even if he ordered to check the garbage trucks in the city now, it would certainly be useless. The jewelry was on the garbage trucks only to be transferred out of the exhibition center. Once it left the exhibition center, it would be transferred again. Now, the jewelry must have fallen into the hands of the behind-the-scenes boss. Although the owners of these jewelry were registered before the exhibition, it should be some virtual names of foreign people. It was not real. Even if they followed the vine to find the melon, they would not find anything. Yang Ming sighed slightly. This behind-the-scenes boss is very brilliant in terms of IQ and cautiousness. If I continue to be so arrogant, I will definitely suffer. I have already suffered this time. Seeing that Yang Ming's face was not good, the black-shirted man was very straightforward. Anyway, the jewelry is no longer in my hands. If you want to kill me, just do it. It was fine if the black-shirted man didn't speak. When he spoke, it reminded Yang Ming. Yes, the black-shirted man said that he was adopted by the boss since he was a child and taught him skills. Then, the relationship between the boss and the black-shirted man is extraordinary. Can I use the black-shirted man as a bargaining chip to exchange for what I want? Thinking of this, Yang Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. The black-shirt man's skill was very good. Even Yang Ming felt that if he only compared in terms of stealing, the black-shirt man was almost on par with him. Such a powerful person was quite rare. Moreover, the black-shirt man was not like the previous mercenaries. If the mercenaries died, it was other people's business. It had nothing to do with the boss, but the black-shirt man was different. It seemed that the black-shirt man was probably the boss's apprentice. At least, he should be a very close person. In that case, it was impossible for the boss not to be worried about the black-shirt man's life and death. It could be said that how much was the jewelry worth? With the black-shirt man's kung fu, even if he wanted to have more valuable jewelry, it wouldn't be difficult. I believe the boss will calculate this account. What I have to do now is to control the black-shirt man and wait quietly for the boss to contact me. Sure enough, it didn't take long for the black-shirt man's phone to ring. The black-shirt man was shocked. Just as he wanted to pick up the phone and hang up, Yang Ming directly took it away. In terms of speed, the black-shirt man was not slower than Yang Ming, but in terms of strength, the black-shirt man was far inferior to Yang Ming, so the phone was directly snatched by Yang Ming, and Yang Ming casually hit the black-shirt man's mute acupoint, making him temporarily mute and unable to speak again. The person sent by the boss to wait for the black-shirt man at the airport didn't wait for the black-shirt man to appear, so he contacted the boss. The boss then called the black-shirt man. Yang Ming smiled slightly and picked up the phone. Hello. Yang Ming's voice obviously surprised the other party. The other side of the phone was silent for a moment before saying, "Who are you?" The voice was processed by a voice changer. It was extremely unpleasant, but it could be clearly heard what the other party said. "I am Yang Ming." Yang Ming said, "I believe you know who I am. I don't need to introduce myself. Where are my people? What did you do to him?" The other party didn't answer Yang Ming's words, but asked directly. "Don't worry. He is fine now." Yang Ming casually opened the black-shirt man's acupoint again. The black-shirt man suddenly shouted, "Boss, don't worry about me. He talks too much." Yang Ming snorted and turned the black-shirt man into a mute state. Then, he said to the phone, "I asked you what is your purpose and why you are targeting me. You obviously won't tell me." The other party obviously agreed with Yang Ming's words. "Then what do you want?" "What I want, I believe you know better than me." Yang Ming said indifferently, "You didn't do anything, and I didn't do anything." The other party hesitated, but responded firmly, "The jewelry was not stolen. It was just withdrawn from the exhibition hall early. There is nothing tomorrow. I will naturally ensure that your people are fine," said Yang Ming. "I will believe you once," the other party said after listening to Yang Ming's words. "You have to believe." Yang Ming said, "You are targeting me. You should have some understanding of me. Even if I have to compensate for the loss of the jewelry, I can afford it." Yang Ming's words made the other party stunned, but he immediately figured it out. Indeed, Yang Ming should also have some great income in his hands, not the ones on the surface. "I hope we have a good cooperation." The other party hung up the phone after saying that. Yang Ming looked at the call record on the mobile phone. He didn't intend to check the location of the phone number that came in. Obviously, it was called after many transfers. He couldn't find the location of the call. The result made Yang Ming quite satisfied. Sure enough, the boss didn't intend to give up the black-shirt man, and Yang Ming wouldn't get anything even if he killed the black-shirt man. Yang Ming also knew that with the degree of caution of the person behind the scenes, even if the black-shirt man was relatively close to him, it was impossible to know all his secrets. Wait a minute. Yang Ming seemed to have thought of something. Previously, the black-shirt man said that he wanted to go to Macau to avoid the limelight. This made Yang Ming suddenly think of Jing Xiaoping, the consultant of Macau's Huawei Casino. The person who planned to harm Wang Xiaoyan. How similar was his experience with the black-shirt man? The person behind the scenes was also called the boss, and the black-shirt man was going to Macau. So, would these two people have any connection? Would the person behind the scenes be the same person? In this way, everything could be explained. The person behind the scenes was not only targeting him, but also targeting Wang Xiaoyan. The death warrior who appeared at Wang Xiaoyan's house that day might also be sent by the boss. Thinking of this, Yang Ming quickly asked, "What are you going to do after you go to Macau?" "Humph." The black-shirt man snorted coldly and showed a fearless attitude. He didn't answer Yang Ming's words. "I can see that you also have a certain understanding of the acupuncture points of the human body." Yang Ming said faintly, "There is a kind of pain. I don't know if you have experienced it before." "What?" The black-shirt man was obviously somewhat inexplicable. He didn't understand what Yang Ming said. However, Yang Ming wasn't very surprised. It was no wonder that some of his acupuncture points were Fong Tian's unique skills. Even if someone knew the acupuncture points, it was impossible to know so much. Chapter 1087. Some of Fong Tian's acupoint sealing techniques were unique. In the normal acupoint chart, these special acupoints were not reflected. Moreover, the acupoint sealing technique was also quite important. It wasn't something that could be done with just a touch. Otherwise, if someone accidentally touched the acupoints, then it couldn't be cured. Yang Ming promised the boss that he wouldn't kill the black-shirt man, but he didn't say that he wouldn't ask anything from him. Yang Ming directly touched the acupoints on his body with his hand. This was Yang Ming's tried and tested technique. Suddenly, the black-shirt man's face turned green. While he was twisting his body, there were beads of sweat on his forehead. In the beginning, he could still bear it, but this feeling was getting more and more uncontrollable. It was as if tens of thousands of ants were drilling around his body. It wasn't painful, but it wasn't itchy either. It was an indescribable feeling that drove people crazy. "Ah!" The black-shirt man couldn't help but scream. This feeling was even more uncomfortable than killing him. Although he didn't know what Yang Ming did to him, Yang Ming said something about the acupoint sealing. Obviously, after Yang Ming sealed one of his acupoints, he had such a weird feeling now. "Is it very satisfying?" Yang Ming said with a blank expression, "Before tomorrow, you can continue to feel good like this. I don't know if you can bear it. It's like heaven and hell." "Stop. Stop." When the black-shirt man saw that Yang Ming didn't intend to unseal his acupoints, he was immediately shocked. He shouted, "What did you do to me? Who, just give me a quick death. I can't bear it anymore. Are you asking me to kill someone? That's against the law. I don't like it." Yang Ming shrugged innocently. After the black-shirt man listened to Yang Ming's words, he was so angry that he wanted to curse. He thought, "You just said that you killed the driver, and now you don't want to kill anymore. You even said that killing is against the law. Who the fuck is this person? Wasn't this too fucked up?" However, the black-clothed man's life. It should be said that whether he would continue to suffer was in the hands of Yang Ming. Therefore, the black-clothed man did not dare to offend Yang Ming too much. Now, it was clear that Yang Ming wanted to torture him until he gave in. "I can kill myself too." The man in black didn't have anything that could be used to kill himself, but even if he did, he might not be able to do it to himself. Although the man in black was skilled, in the end, he was a technical talent. He could be considered a master thief, but his heart was not ruthless. He had never killed anyone, nor had he fought, let alone committed suicide. Yang Ming sneered at the black-clothed man without saying anything. I can't take it anymore. It's so uncomfortable. Oh. At first, the black-clothed man could still bear it, but this feeling of thousands of needles piercing into his heart continued. The black-clothed man finally couldn't bear it anymore, and his voice became vague and trembling. Yang Ming didn't expect the black-clothed man's physical fitness to be so poor. It was reasonable to say that this kind of pain was not a problem for those who were relatively strong to torment them for a few days. However, if the body was weaker, it was possible that they would not be able to bear it and would die suddenly. Yang Ming reached out and unsealed the black-clothed man's acupoints. The black-clothed man suddenly gasped with relief. Yang Ming didn't disturb him. Yang Ming knew that he couldn't speak now, so Yang Ming was waiting for him to catch his breath before continuing to ask. Finally, when the black-clothed man's breathing became even, Yang Ming spoke again. The black-clothed man's body was really weak and couldn't withstand too much torment. Although Yang Ming could use other methods to make him recover faster, since the acupoints had been unsealed and he wouldn't die, Yang Ming didn't mind letting him suffer for a while. Now we can talk. Of course, if you don't want to say it, we will continue the game until you say it. Yang Ming said faintly. Demon. At this moment, the black-clothed man only had this word in his heart to describe the person in front of him. This guy's method of interrogating others was really unique. He tortured people but couldn't cause any harm to the human body. I don't know anything. Even if I know, I can't say anything. The black-clothed man gasped and said, You don't have to waste your energy. Just kill me. Kill you? Do you think I'm a fool? Yang Ming sneered and said, You heard the phone call just now. I used you in exchange for not holding me responsible after the jewelry was lost. If you die, what will I use as a bargaining chip? In that case, do as you wish. The black-clothed man recovered his look of a dead pig not afraid of boiling water. Yang Ming was a little amused. This guy really forgot the pain after the scar healed. He changed another acupoint. For this kind of person with poor physical fitness, Yang Ming didn't dare to use the same trick continuously. Otherwise, if he died, Yang Ming wouldn't have any bargaining chips. Yang Ming used another acupoint technique this time. It could make the black-clothed man have a strong itch all over his body, but it was different from the usual itch. Yang Ming's itch was under the skin. So, no matter how the black-clothed man scratched, even if he scratched his skin, it was useless. After Yang Ming put down his hand, the black-clothed man began to scratch his body crazily. At first, he didn't feel anything, but after scratching a few times, he felt that something was wrong. Because, no matter how he scratched, he couldn't stop the itch. The itch on his body was still there. He scratched and scratched, but there was no effect. However, the black-clothed man still scratched his whole body vigorously. There were even blood marks in many places, but the itch still didn't disappear. Until this moment, the black-clothed man showed pain and horror. I said, Stop. I will tell you everything. Oh, the black-clothed man couldn't bear it. He didn't want to die now. If Yang Ming really intended to kill him, there would definitely be more painful tricks than this until he tortured him to death. You should have said so earlier. Yang Ming unsealed his acupoint and said, Actually, I'm not such an unreasonable person. If I kill you, it won't be good if I become a murderer. The black-clothed man thought, There is no one in this world who is more hypocritical than you, but he didn't have the courage to argue. He said weakly, What do you want to know? After you went to Macau, who did you seek refuge with? Asked Yang Ming. I don't know who I sought refuge with, but it is said that he has some influence in Macau, but I heard the boss's men call him something like a consultant. The black-clothed man said, Other than that, I don't know. Consultant. Yang Ming's heart moved. wouldn't it be Xing Xiaoping? Isn't this guy the technical consultant of Huawei Casino? In this way, it also confirms my previous thoughts. The boss behind Xing Xiaoping is the boss behind the black-clothed man. The two bosses are the same person. However, the problem came again. When the boss was in Macau, the person he targeted seemed to be Wang Xiaoyan. In Songjiang, Wang Xiaoyan's home, the person he targeted seemed to be Wang Xiaoyan more. However, this jewelry exhibition had nothing to do with Wang Xiaoyan. So, who is the person this boss is targeting? Or is it that I have ruined the boss's plans to deal with Wang Xiaoyan several times, so the boss is angry and wants to kill me first to vent his hatred? And the strange experience that night. Yang Ming frowned. What does this boss want to do? What is his purpose? How did Wang Xiaoyan offend him? Boss's underling. Who is the boss's underling? Yang Ming continued to ask, does the boss have other underlings? It's the driver. For my escape this time, he is responsible for everything. The black-clothed man said, including the contact with the people in Macau, driver. Yang Ming suddenly found that this driver didn't seem to be as simple as a driver. Originally, Yang Ming thought that this driver was just a small role, but he didn't expect that the thing he was responsible for was even more important than the black-clothed man. He knew more inside information. The association recalled what the black-clothed man said before. The driver was trustworthy. Yang Ming was suddenly shocked. He picked up the phone and was about to call Lu Xinyang. He asked them to guard the driver strictly and not let him escape. At first, Yang Ming thought that the driver was just an insignificant character. He didn't even care about his life when he started. At that time, keeping the driver alive was just a thought. Later, he asked Lu Xinyang to catch the driver, and it was just a casual order. However, when he just took out the phone, Yang Ming's phone became a call. Although Yang Ming turned it to vibrate mode, the number of the call was Lu Xinyang. Yang Ming's heart suddenly had an ominous premonition instinctively. He looked at the black-clothed man next to him. Yang Ming frowned, raised his hand slightly, and knocked him out. There were some things that Yang Ming didn't want him to hear. Hello, Lu Xinyang, what's the matter? Yang Ming picked up the phone and asked. Brother Yang, something happened. Lu Xinyang's tone sounded a little anxious. The driver is dead. What? Who did you say is dead? The previous driver. Yang Ming thought that the driver's identity was suspicious and wanted to investigate further, but he didn't expect that the driver would die. How did he die? Suicide. Lu Xinyang's tone was a little guilty. Sorry, Brother Yang. I didn't look after him, now is not the time to apologize. Yang Ming interrupted Lu Xinyang's words. I just want to know. You tied him with a rope. How did he commit suicide? I did tie him up and locked him in the back of the car, but when he woke up and saw the situation, he slammed his head against the car window and the pillar of the car. He only slammed his head twice, and before I could stop him, his brain burst open and he died. Lu Xinyang said with some regret. Motherfucker. Yang Ming cursed and sighed. This isn't your fault. You don't have to blame yourself. Yang Ming wasn't an unreasonable person. This driver was determined to die. No matter how you prevented him, he would commit suicide unless you kept him asleep. Yang Ming also discovered the importance of this person later. Looking at the black-clothed man next to him, Yang Ming sighed. It turned out that the person responsible wasn't him, but the driver. The black-clothed man obviously didn't know much. He was just used as a tool. Even if he said it, it didn't matter. He didn't need to commit suicide, but the black-clothed man directly committed suicide. Obviously, there was a problem. Yang Ming made 2 mistakes in a row today. It could be seen how strong his opponent was. For the first time, Yang Ming felt this sense of crisis. In the past, no matter what kind of opponent Yang Ming faced, he could easily deal with them. But this time, it was different. This opponent was too cunning and insidious. When the boss called, he didn't even mention the driver. It seemed that this person had nothing to do with it at all. Instead, he only asked for the black-clothed man's life in exchange, so Yang Ming naturally ignored the importance of the driver. Yang Ming shook his head helplessly, took out his mobile phone, and dialed the phone number of Macau's Xing Xiaoping. Yang Ming didn't do anything to Xing Xiaoping, but let him continue to stay in Huawei Casino as his own eyes and ears. "Hello, how are you?" Xing Xiaoping picked up the phone, and his tone was very polite. A public figure like Xing Xiaoping always had to maintain his image because he didn't know who would call. "I am Yang Ming." Yang Ming directly reported his identity. "Yang. Mr. Yang." Xing Xiaoping was shocked, and then quickly said, "Mr. Yang, hello. I am looking for you, but the young lady is not here. I can't contact you." Yang Ming didn't leave his phone number to Xing Xiaoping, but told him that if there was any situation, he could find him through Huang Lele. Now that Huang Lele had an accident, she was under house arrest at home. As a result, Xing Xiaoping really couldn't contact him. "This is my phone number. You write it down, and you can keep in touch at any time in the future," Yang Ming said. "Okay, Mr. Yang." Xing Xiaoping said, "This is the case." The boss's assistant, Chen Xixing, called and said that there is one of his own. Of course, it is one of the boss's own people. He wants to come over and hide for a while. He asked me to help entertain him. Sure enough. Yang Ming was completely sure this time. The boss that Xing Xiaoping mentioned was the black-shirt man's boss. This series of things were done by this person. Although Yang Ming had not fully understood the ultimate purpose of the boss, he could put together a series of reasonable and unreasonable things before. "Who is that Chen Xixing? Is he a driver?" asked Yang Ming. "Driver? Yes, he is also the boss's driver." Xing Xiaoping said, "However, he is more like the spokesperson of the boss. He often contacts us for the boss. It can be said that he is one of the most trusted people of the boss." "So, then he knows a lot about the boss?" asked Yang Ming. "I don't know if he knows, but I think it should be like this," said Xing Xiaoping. "Well, we can contact you at any time if there is anything." Yang Ming nodded and hung up the phone, then he regretted it. Obviously, the driver who committed suicide was Chen Xixing, one of the most trusted people of the boss. He must know a lot of things, and he was very loyal. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen the path of suicide. The black-shirt man's usefulness was not great. He knew very few things. Yang Ming didn't need to interrogate him. He just used him as a bargaining chip in his hand. After starting the car, Yang Ming drove in the direction of the exhibition center. Li Chang had already woken up at this time. He was very ashamed of being drugged by someone else's incense. However, Yang Ming did not reprimand him. He just instructed him to clean up the scene as soon as possible and restore it to its original state. Although Li Chang was surprised that Yang Ming didn't call the police after such a big thing, but asked them to clean up the scene, Yang Ming didn't say much, so he didn't ask much. What Yang Ming asked him to do, he just did it. Since he had reached an agreement with the boss, Yang Ming didn't need to look for the jewelry anymore. Both of them knew that the boss was a thief crying thief. He stole his own things. His sentence, "The thing was not lost, but it was withdrawn in advance," showed that he would no longer pursue the theft of the treasure. It was his own withdrawal, and it had nothing to do with Yang Ming. Although it seemed that neither of them got any benefits, it was basically a tie. The loss on the boss side was more serious. At least one of his confidants died. However, Yang Ming was very upset. He had suffered 2 hidden losses, but he couldn't do anything about it. Are we really going to let it go? Don't pursue it anymore. Then, isn't our efforts this time in vain? The young man was a little unwilling. He clenched his fists and said, "What if we don't?" The boss shook his head helplessly. The person is in Yang Ming's hands. I can only do this. The person, is it so important? You are willing to let go of Xiao AI. Can't you let go of this stealing tool? The young man was a little puzzled. He is a rare talent, but it's not that I can't let go. The boss sighed and said, the one who really can't fall into Yang Ming's hands is Chen Xixing, my driver. He knows my identity. If it really leaks out, it will be a big problem. Chen Xixing. The driver who drove. The young man frowned. It turns out that you have an ulterior motive. You didn't mention a word about him just now. It's useless for Yang Ming to keep a driver. He promised to release Xiao Gu, and he will also release Chen Xixing. The boss nodded and said, there's no other way. Because of him, I can only compromise. Well, but we didn't suffer a loss. The young man also knew that there was no room for maneuver. The boss's affairs couldn't be exposed. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to seek revenge from the boss in the future. There will be opportunities in the future. There's no rush this time. The boss said. Next time, I want him dead. The young man gritted his teeth and said fiercely. I want him dead more than you. The boss sneered and said, Yang Ming, you are lucky this time, but there won't be a next time. I hope you won't be so lucky next time. After the boss finished speaking, he instructed his men to send a message to the Jewelry Association that the jewelry had safely evacuated. This was an agreement between him and Yang Ming, and he had to abide by it. Yang Ming didn't want to entangle with the boss on this matter. Killing the black-shirt man didn't benefit Yang Ming, and Yang Ming couldn't get anything. Very good, I hope you will keep your promise. The boss said, right, let them drive back. Drive? Drive what? Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable. Didn't you detain the driver of the car? Let them come back together. The boss said lightly. When Yang Ming heard the boss say this, he immediately understood. The boss originally said, driver. It seems that this driver really has a problem. This boss also has an ulterior motive. Looking at his understatement tone and pretending to be casual, he should be very anxious in his heart. Thinking of this, Yang Ming deliberately said naughtily, oh. You mean the driver? He was caught by my men. I don't know where he is. It's not easy to find him. Well, I will send a car to send the black-shirt man back. After Yang Ming finished speaking, he was secretly happy. He finally vented his anger. Moreover, not only that, Yang Ming suddenly had another plan in his heart. Since the boss cared so much about the driver, why not take the opportunity to trick him again? When the boss heard Yang Ming's words, his face suddenly turned green. He wanted the driver, Chen Xixing, to come back, but not the black-shirt man. Yang Ming actually only released the black-shirt man and not Chen Xixing. How could this not make the boss anxious? Didn't we agree yesterday? You let my men go, and I won't pursue it. Why? Do you want to go back on your word? The boss asked in a deep voice. Let him go, I will naturally let him go. However, we agreed yesterday to let the black-shirt man go, right? You asked me to find the driver. Aren't you giving me a hard time? Yang Ming said lightly, I am very busy. How can I find the driver for you? Besides, is the driver important? The boss's face twitched twice, and he said calmly, "They are all my people. Naturally, they have to come back, regardless of whether he is the driver or not." Well, the previous condition was to exchange for the black-shirt man. "If you want the driver, tell me the whereabouts of the jewelry," Yang Ming said indifferently. The boss really wanted to throw the phone, but the association knew about Yang Ming's shameless character, so there was no way. He took a few deep breaths and then said, "Okay, let's wait and see." After that, he hung up the phone. What does "okay, let's wait and see" mean? Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable after listening to the boss's words. Why does it sound so awkward? Did he agree or not? However, since this driver, Chen Xixing, was so important, the boss would not give up easily, so Yang Ming was not in a hurry. Anyway, the Jewelry Association had approved that the jewelry was withdrawn normally, so Yang Ming was not worried at all. He continued to help the jewelry dealers withdraw from the venue in an orderly manner. A subordinate ran to Li Chang's side and whispered a few words to Li Chang. Li Chang quickly walked to Yang Ming. "Brother Yang, at the entrance of the exhibition center, there is a courier who claims to be from a courier company. He said that there is a package for you." "Courier? Package?" Yang Ming was stunned for a moment, then he faintly thought of something, so he said, "Let him come in." Not long after, the courier was brought in by several of Li Chang's men. The courier was obviously a little scared and said carefully, "Who is Mr. Yang Ming?" "I am him." After the courier came in, Yang Ming used his special ability to check his body. He did not carry any weapons, but the package in his hand was full of jewelry stolen by the black-shirt man. "Hee, you sent it back so quickly." Yang Ming smiled faintly and signed for the package. He did not investigate the true identity of the courier. Thinking about it, this person could not be the boss's core subordinate. The boss could not send his core subordinate to perform this task. If he was detained, the boss's loss would be even greater. Not long after signing for the package, the phone that Yang Ming took from the black-shirt man rang again. Yang Ming picked up the phone directly. "Hello." Yang Ming picked up the phone. "Have you received the item?" The boss's voice came over. "Hee, not bad. It's quite efficient." Yang Ming's mood was very good. "Okay, I hope you will abide by the agreement," the boss said with a snort. "Well, call me later." "I will find someone to check where the driver is," said Yang Ming. Yang Ming was very surprised. He didn't expect to inadvertently reverse the situation. He got rare jewelry worth nearly $10 billion for no reason. Isn't this money too easy to earn? 20 minutes later, the phone rang again. Yang Ming smiled and picked up the phone. "Boss? Sorry, I found the person, but unfortunately, the person committed suicide." "You must believe it. He really committed suicide. Think about it. It's useless for me to kill him. He is just a little driver. I can't ask someone to kill him. Moreover, he killed himself." His brain burst out. "Such a disgusting way to die. I can't kill him even if I want to. It's disgusting." When the boss heard Yang Ming's words, he was so angry that he wanted to curse. However, it was possible for Chen Xixing to commit suicide. Chen Xixing could only choose to commit suicide in order to keep it a secret. If he committed suicide, it would be fine. He didn't have to worry about his secret being leaked. But the key problem was, wouldn't his jewelry be given away in vain? Isn't it equivalent to throwing it away? In the situation where no one lost and no one won, it became Yang Ming who was slightly better. He didn't do anything to Yang Ming, and he didn't get the person back. Instead, he lost $10 billion worth of jewelry. However, since it had come to this, the boss couldn't say anything more. Yang Ming checked the information inside, including the short message box, photo album, and so on, but he didn't find any useful information. Obviously, this was a mobile phone that was just bought. Perhaps it was only equipped for this mobile phone. There was only one phone number in it, and it was the boss's number. However, thinking about it, he couldn't find anything from this number. It was probably a virtual number, or a number that had been transferred from overseas many times. Judging from the mobile phones of the black-shirt man and the driver, Chen Xixing's mobile phone was a professional encrypted mobile phone, and the black-shirt man was just an ordinary one. This could show that Chen Xixing's position in the behind-the-scenes boss's organization was definitely not low. However, it didn't make any sense to think about this now. At least, in this game, Yang Ming won by a narrow margin. From a draw to a slight win, he let the boss suffer a hidden loss. Yang Ming didn't delay, but drove directly to the school. He wanted to find Xiaoqing to ask about the mobile phone. After all, there might be the boss's information in it. Yang Ming was afraid that a long delay would lead to trouble. If this thing had a self-destruct device, then it would be fucked up. Therefore, Yang Ming wanted to solve the mobile phone problem as soon as possible. If Xiaoqing couldn't find a way, then Yang Ming simply didn't think about it. After all, the possibility of cracking the most advanced foreign military mobile phone was very small. This week's security operation made Yang Ming a little tired, but it finally ended safely, and he also extorted a lot of valuable jewelry. As for the jewelry, Yang Ming didn't intend to sell it. First, Yang Ming wasn't short of money. Second, and most importantly, Yang Ming had several women around him. Although Yang Ming was good to them, he never bought too expensive jewelry for them. Although it seemed that jewelry was flashy and had no practical use except for looking good, the appeal of jewelry to girls was invincible. Otherwise, who would Yang Ming sell the jewelry in his company to? Therefore, Yang Ming decided to give these jewelry to his several girlfriends. Anyway, it was extorted, so Yang Ming didn't feel distressed. When he visited Xiaoqing this time, Yang Ming picked a brooch. It was said that the Queen of Tsarist Russia used to wear it. Yang Ming didn't look at the introduction carefully. Anyway, there was a detailed introduction in the jewelry box and a certificate of authenticity issued by several famous international jewelry identification institutions. The car was parked downstairs in the computer teacher building. Yang Ming got out of the car and walked quickly to Xiaoqing's office. He knocked on the door of Xiaoqing's office, but no one answered. Yang Ming glanced inside with his special ability and found that Xiaoqing wasn't in the office. Generally at this time, Xiaoqing was at school, so Yang Ming didn't call when he came today. He didn't expect to find nothing. Chapter 1089. Sister Xiaoqing, where are you? Yang Ming called Xiaoqing. Of course, in public, Yang Ming still called Xiaoqing as Sister Xiaoqing. If he called her Qing here, it wouldn't be good if someone with bad intentions saw it. Yang Ming. I'm at school. Xiaoqing said, why? What's the matter? School. I'm at the door of your office. You're not there either, asked Yang Ming. I'm in the laboratory. I'm recently researching a new topic about the underlying network protocol. I'm busy. I'm having a video conference. Wait for me. It will end in about half an hour. Xiaoqing said. Well, I'll wait for you at the laboratory building. I just have some things to ask you. I should need the laboratory equipment, said Yang Ming. Because the mobile phone needed to be decrypted immediately, it also needed the help of some professional experimental equipment. It was impossible to solve the problem in the office. Yang Ming went out of the faculty building and drove slowly to the computer laboratory building. There was a speed limit of 20 kilometers on campus, but few people would abide by it. However, Young Ming paid more attention to the traffic rules. Many people often regretted it after an accident. However, Young Ming drove slowly, but some people weren't willing. There was a sound of a car horn behind him. Young Ming glanced in the rearview mirror. It was a Land Rover Discovery 3. Because many of the lanes in the school were one-way streets, only one car could pass. The car behind couldn't overtake. Young Ming glanced at the speed limit sign on the side of the road and still maintained a speed of 20 kilometers per hour. The Land Rover behind him was obviously impatient. It actually honked the horn. The sound was shockingly loud, like a train horn. If Young Ming didn't have good physical fitness, he would definitely be shocked. Woo! The car behind was still honking the horn. The students walking on the side of the road covered their ears and showed a disgusted expression. However, the driver of the Land Rover still didn't know and kept honking. This kind of high-decibel siren was used on trains and some large transport vehicles, and it was not allowed to be used in the city, let alone in the campus where sirens were not allowed. However, in order to look cool or have other motives, some drivers installed sirens on their cars and used them crazily in places where there were no traffic police. It was like some non-police vehicles that were equipped with a loudspeaker and honked madly on a small street, except that the sound of the siren was louder and worse. Young Ming found it hard to understand the intentions of these people. He did not understand the meaning behind their actions. Just like the young man in the Land Rover, he didn't care about the reactions of the passers-by and kept pressing the horn, enjoying the shock brought by the sound of the horn. Of course, Young Ming wouldn't speed up just because he kept blowing the horn, so he continued to move forward slowly. Out of the one-way road, it was the laboratory building of the computer science department. Young Ming parked the car next to the flower bed in front of the teaching building. Although there were no flowers in the flower bed in this season, there were 2 snow sculptures carved by the students. Although they were not so professional, they had a youthful atmosphere. Young Ming parked the car and waited for the end of the video conference on Xiaoqing's side. Not long after he parked the car, the Land Rover that had been behind Young Ming drove over. With a turn, the front of the car directly faced the door next to Young Ming's driver's seat. Then, it braked and stopped. The front of the car was less than 5 centimeters away from Young Ming's door. Woo! The young man in the Land Rover pressed the horn again and jumped out of the car. He said in a demonstration, "Kid, aren't you fucking awesome? Let me see how you get out of the car." "Idiot, blocking my way." "I will block your way this time." "You think you are awesome just because you drive a BMW, right?" Young Ming frowned and looked at the young man as if he was crazy. He opened the window and said, "Did you take the wrong medicine?" The young man looked at Young Ming proudly and circled around Young Ming's car twice. He said, "Damn, is it a pile of 8s? Is it a fake brand?" Speaking of this, the young man waved to another Audi Q7 behind his car. "Detsy, you stay behind him and block him." The Audi Q7 was obviously in cahoots with this young man. He parked the car directly behind Young Ming's car, completely blocking Young Ming's car. Young Ming's left was the Land Rover, right was the flower bed, behind was the Audi Q7, and in front was the teaching building. It could be said that there was no way to go in all directions. The person who came down from the Audi Q7 was also a young man. He was dressed very fashionably. He didn't even look at Young Ming. He directly went up and patted the young man's shoulder. "Third brother, he is such an idiot. Don't be angry with him. There is no need." As they spoke, the two walked into the computer science laboratory building together. The young man before was called Xia Wenjin, and the person behind him was called Qi Jide. Both of them were students in the preparatory class of Songjiang Industry University. The so-called preparatory class was for some students who had not been admitted to university. It was self-funded. First, they would go to the preparatory class for a year, then they would go to the freshman year. The preparatory class of Songjiang Industry University was originally in the campus, but this time, it was merged with the other departments of the campus into the main campus. The two just ate mutton skewers at the school gate. They drank too much and held their pee, so they were so anxious to honk the horn. However, Yang Ming was not in a hurry. Xia Wenjin was naturally angry, so he asked Qi Jida to block Yang Ming together. Both of their families were very rich. Usually, they could do whatever they wanted in the campus. No one dared to provoke them. Now that he saw Yang Ming actually dared to disobey him, Xia Wenjin was naturally furious. Although Yang Ming's car was also very high-end, Xia Wenjin was the campus bully. He didn't put Yang Ming in his eyes. Yang Ming didn't want to do anything to Xia Wenjin, and he didn't want to find trouble with him. However, this guy was insatiable. Yang Ming naturally wouldn't spoil him. The X5 had a skylight. Yang Ming directly opened the skylight, and then jumped out from the roof of his car. He first came to the front of Xia Wenjin's Land Rover and kicked directly on the front windshield of the Land Rover. Although the front windshield of the Land Rover was very strong, and it was covered with an explosion-proof membrane, it couldn't withstand Yang Ming's kick. Yang Ming could break a tree that was as thick as a person with a kick, let alone a layer of glass. Bang! With a sound, the Land Rover's windshield was broken by Yang Ming's kick. Then, with another kick, the whole piece of glass fell directly with the explosion-proof membrane. Yang Ming threw the broken windshield aside and jumped into the Land Rover's driver's seat. He took out the special universal lily key, inserted it into the keyhole, and started the car. Yang Ming reversed the Land Rover and then turned the steering. The front of the car was aimed at the butt of the Audi Q7 that was parked behind his BMW. Of course, Yang Ming couldn't hit it all at once. Instead, he stuck the front of the car to the tail of the Audi Q7 and slowly increased the throttle. Boom! The Audi Q7 was pushed forward slowly by the Land Rover. Because the Q7's handbrake was already pulled, it could still be pushed with brute force. It was just damaging the car. The power of the Land Rover was very strong. Although it was difficult to push the Q7, it was not impossible. The Q7 was pushed directly to the wall, and the front of the car hit the wall. Yang Ming jumped down from the Land Rover. The Q7 was still okay, but the Land Rover had been destroyed by Yang Ming. Yang Ming jumped down from the Land Rover and looked at the Audi Q7 in front of him. He felt that it was a bit unfair, so he kicked the driver's seat of the Q7. At this moment, not only was the door of the driver's seat dented, but even the door glass was also broken. Xia Wenjin and Qi Jida just solved their physiological problems and walked out of the laboratory building. "Motherfucker, I'm suffocating." Xia Wenjin said, "I don't know if that idiot is out yet." Ha! If I wasn't in a hurry to pick up girls, I really should have blocked him for a while. Qi Jida also said indifferently. These two people were used to being overbearing when they were at the campus. "Come quickly." Hanging up the phone, Xia Wenjin breathed a sigh of relief. With a smile on his face, he said to Qi Jida, "It's done. Just wait for a while." Not long after, a young man wearing a black taekwondo suit came over to the computer laboratory building. Xia Wenjin's eyes suddenly lit up. He pulled Qi Jida and ran over. Just now, Yang Ming was outside. Both of them didn't dare to go out of the teaching building. Now that there was a strong foreign aid, Xia Wenjin dared to run out. At this time, Yang Ming had already returned to his car. He closed his eyes and waited for Shao Qing. Naturally, he didn't pay attention to the situation outside. These days, Yang Ming was really too tired. It was rare to have time to take a break from work. Naturally, he had to grasp it well. Where is he? Cousin Lu Xiaojun said faintly with the demeanor of a master. He is in the car over there. Xia Wenjin pointed to Yang Ming's BMW X5 and said, "It is the kid in the car. Not only did he scold me, but he also scolded you. He said that even if the emperor came, he would still beat him. If you don't believe it, you can ask Xiao Qi if it is like this." Qi Dizhi quickly nodded at the side. However, Lu Xiaojun waved his hand and said, "Don't say so much. Leave it to me." After that, he strode to the BMW X5. Xia Wenjin and Qi Dizhi saw that the matter was done. They suddenly breathed a sigh of relief and looked in the direction of Lu Xiaojun. Bang bang bang. Lu Xiaojun vigorously knocked on the door of the BMW. "Come out. Motherfucker." Yang Ming took a rare break, but he was disturbed by Lu Xiaojun's action. Yang Ming opened the door abruptly and pushed Lu Xiaojun, who was outside the door, to the point that he almost fell down. "What's the matter?" Yang Ming glanced at Lu Xiaojun and looked at Xia Wenjin and Qi Dizhi, who were not far away. He understood everything. This guy must have been found by those two people to seek revenge. Lu Xiaojun just wanted to attack, but he suddenly found that Yang Ming was very familiar. He was very familiar. He remembered who the person in front of him was. Yang Ming had taught him a lesson several times, and he also beat up the Taekwondo club's president, Rin Jianren, in the ring. Thinking of this, Lu Xiaojun's face suddenly changed. At this time, Yang Ming also recognized Lu Xiaojun. "Isn't this Vice President Lu of the Taekwondo Club? Why? Are you challenging me again? What new tricks did you learn this time? Did you find any backup?" Lu Xiaojun obviously didn't have the courage to fight with Yang Ming. Even the president couldn't beat Yang Ming. How could he be Yang Ming's opponent? Lu Xiaojun was angry in his heart. "If I knew it was Yang Ming, I wouldn't have come. Isn't this embarrassing?" Looking at Xia Wenjin and Qi Dizhi's expectant look, Lu Xiaojun was embarrassed. "Speak." Yang Ming was already in a bad mood because of Xia Wenjin. When he saw Lu Xiaojun stuttering again, he suddenly became angry. "Do you have something to say?" "No, nothing." Lu Xiaojun was shocked and couldn't help but say, I'm leaving." "Why did you knock on my car? Do you have ADHD?" Yang Ming naturally knew why Lu Xiaojun appeared here, but he didn't expose him. For such a small character, Yang Ming was too lazy to care about it. Yes. Lu Xiaojun saw that Yang Ming was angry and nodded quickly. I have ADHD, go to the hospital if you have ADHD. Don't be crazy here." Yang Ming glared at Lu Xiaojun and sat back in the car. Lu Xiaojun was afraid that Yang Ming would hold him accountable again, so he quickly ran away and returned to Xia Wenjin and Qi Dizhi. "Cousin, what's going on? Why didn't you beat him up?" Because of the distance, Xia Wenjin couldn't hear the conversation between Yang Ming and Lu Xiaojun, so he asked curiously. Lu Xiaojun hesitated. He wanted to fabricate a reason, but he was afraid that these two ignorant kids would cause trouble for him. Next time, they would look for him. "So," he said, "he is from the Wushu Club. Our Taekwondo club, and he don't interfere with each other. We can't fight openly. We can only fight in the arena. Let's just forget about this. Although I am not afraid of him, you also know that the school pays attention to conflicts between clubs. If I beat him up and he tells the school, I will be punished." After Lu Xiaojun finished, he thought, "I am really a genius. I can make up such a wonderful reason. Not only did I save my face, but I also saved trouble in the future. So that's the case. Xiao Wenjin nodded without any doubt. In his heart, his cousin was a very badass person, so he naturally had no doubts. So, you just let the kid go. Let's talk about it later. Although our taekwondo club is very prosperous, we can't bully others. If the school knows, it will be severely punished. Especially since I am the vice president of the taekwondo club, I can't take the lead to suppress other clubs. Lu Xiaojun said, we have to compete fairly. That's fine, cousin. I won't make it difficult for you. That kid is lucky. Xiao Wenjin nodded and said, cousin, will he still pretend to be badass in front of us in the future? It's okay. I warned him. Lu Xiaojun said casually. Lu Xiaojun thought, the campus is so big. How can there be so many opportunities to meet? How long has it been since I met Yang Ming? If Xiao Wenjin didn't look for me, I wouldn't have met Yang Ming. That's good. Xiao Wenjin nodded. Let's go, cousin. I will invite you to have fun. Just now, Xiao Qi and I were going to the Nightless Club. Let's go together. Yeah, cousin, the greeter there is very beautiful. Third brother has been chasing her for a long time, but he hasn't gotten her yet. I will take you to have a look. Cousin, you are so handsome. Maybe it will be easy. Qi Jida nodded and said. Chapter 1090. Really? Lu Xiaojun didn't want to be rewarded without doing anything. He was a little embarrassed. I think I won't go. You guys have fun, how can that be? Xiao Wenjin shook his head again and again. Without you, cousin, it would be boring. Besides, the entertainment venue is a mix of good people and bad people. With you, a taekwondo master, in charge, our hearts will be at ease. This. Lu Xiaojun was flattered by Xiao Wenjin, and his heart began to become active. His family condition wasn't as good as Xiao Wenjin's family. His parents only ran a small business. Last year, they encountered a financial crisis. After a foreigner placed an order, he disappeared. They lost a lot of money, so his pocket money was naturally pitiful. Lu Xiaojun hadn't been to a high-end entertainment venue like the Nightless Club for a long time. Naturally, he wanted to go and have fun. He was embarrassed because he didn't do anything before, but now that he heard Xiao Wenjin say that he had to be in charge, he didn't have so many concerns. He nodded and said, okay. Great, third brother. When you see the greeter, you will know. It's simply, TSK. It's just not easy to get started, but I believe that third brother is so powerful. Once you set out, you will succeed. Qi Jida also said. Yang Ming was in the car. He looked at the three people whispering in the distance and shook his head disdainfully. Sure enough, it was Lu Xiaojun who was found by Xiao Wenjin and Qi Jida. He listened to Lu Xiaojun shirking his responsibility for a long time. He despised him in his heart, and he didn't continue to listen to the rest of the words. Xiao Wenjin and Qi Jida obviously couldn't drive anymore. The car was kicked to this extent. They could only call for a 4S shop to tow the car later. However, Xiao Wenjin's family was relatively rich. With just a phone call, his parents' subordinates sent another Honda Accord. The grade of business cars in the company were generally Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, Audi A6, and so on. It was impossible to buy some sports cars like Ferrari. Which company would drive a sports car to meet customers or negotiate? First, there were too few people sitting in the sports car. Second, it was not formal. He asked the man to take a taxi back to the company. Xiao Wenjin sat in the driver's seat, while Qi Jida and Lu Xiaojun sat in the back. But, third brother, our car. Although Qi Jida's family was also very rich, it was one grade lower than Lu Xiaojuan's family. He could afford an Audi Q7, but it didn't mean that he could ask for money from his family if it was broken. Xiao Wenjin looked at his cousin's face and saw that his cousin didn't say anything, so he said, forget it. I will pay for the repair. You don't have to ask your family for money. That's great, thank you, third brother. Qi Jida naturally didn't dare to ask Yang Ming for maintenance fees. Since Xiao Wenjin was willing to pay, Qi Jida didn't say anything more. Xiao Wenjin didn't think too much about it. He didn't doubt Lu Xiaojuan's words at all. After all, the school was not a society. It was impossible to beat up anyone. It was better when he was at the branch campus. The school's main leaders were not there. Now that he had returned to the main campus, he naturally had to restrain himself. What's more, Lu Xiaojun also said that the other party belonged to the martial arts club. If there was a conflict, it wouldn't be as simple as a personal conflict. It had developed into a struggle and suppression between the two clubs. The school was unwilling to not interfere. Right, cousin, I heard that there will be Thai students coming to our school to challenge in a while. Will your Taekwondo club participate? Asked Xiao Wenjin. Lu Xiaojuan's old face was red. The school also looked for their Taekwondo club for this matter, but no one in the Taekwondo club dared to fight. Even the president, Ren Jianren, didn't dare to accept, let alone the others. To put it bluntly, their Taekwondo club was basically a group of people who scared ordinary students. Once they really went on the field, it might not be effective. They want to challenge traditional martial arts. It's their martial arts club's business. They don't want the Taekwondo club's people to participate. Lu Xiaojuan's skill in bullshitting was first class. In one sentence, he cleared all the responsibilities. Although our Taekwondo club is powerful, it is also an imported product in the end. If they want to challenge Muay Thai, they will go to the Koreans to challenge. Why look for us? That's true. Xiao Wenjin nodded after listening. Then, that Yang Ming just now, will he participate in the battle? Who knows? Lu Xiaojun thought of the scene of Yang Ming beating Ren Jianren, and his heart trembled. If this Yang Ming went on the field, the outcome was really hard to say. This kid never played by the rules. Maybe he could really beat up those Muay Thai students. Motherfucker. Thinking of this, Lu Xiaojun blushed. How can I boost the morale of others? It would be best if Yang Ming lost. Then would lose my face. When they passed by a small road, Xiao Wenjin pressed the horn twice because he was impatient with the car in front of him driving too slowly. After pressing the horn, he found that the car was no longer his Land Rover. The horn was not modified into a siren, and he was a little upset. Xiao Wenjin parked the car in the parking lot of the Nightless Club. The three of them walked to the nightclub. However, when Xiao Wenjin got off the car, he obviously did not have the style he had before. He felt that his car was of a lower class, so he lowered his head when he got off the car. He felt that he had lost some face. However, Lu Xiaojun did not feel anything. Instead, he was very cool. Many people came to play by taxi. They did not even have their own cars. Welcome. When the hostess saw Xiao Wenjin and Lu Xiaojun come in, she habitually bowed and greeted them. When Xiao Wenjin saw that the hostess had changed, he was stunned. He frowned and asked, where did that Shinyushi go? Because the hostess had a name tag on her, Xiao Wenjin remembered Shinyushi's name. Miss Shen has been promoted to foreman. The forewoman who was Shinyushi's partner before said politely. Oh. Xiao Wenjin was stunned. How did she get promoted to foreman? Although he had not mingled in the nightclub, he also knew that from a hostess to a foreman, it was a leap of several levels. Yushi could not have a strong background. If she did, she would be directly appointed to an important position like foreman or front desk cashier. It was impossible for her to be a hostess. Therefore, the only possibility was that Yushi suddenly found a backer, but what kind of backer could a hostess find? Therefore, there was only one possibility. That was, Yushi was a mistress of a big shot. Xia Wenjin had also pursued Yushi for a while, but he had not succeeded. He thought that this little girl was very pure. He did not expect her to be such a piece of trash. However, Xia Wenjin's face was a little ugly. In terms of family background, he was not bad. His family was not the richest in Songjiang, but they had hundreds of millions of assets. He was also in the ranks of the prodigal second generation. That Yushi actually ignored him, and now she was a mistress of someone else. How could Xia Wenjin feel good in his heart? Xia Wenjin's face sank and asked, "Is Yushi a mistress?" No, no. This hostess usually received a lot of benefits from Xia Wenjin. In order to pursue Yushi, Xia Wenjin often inquired about information from her. However, at this time, the hostess was stuttering. Xia Wenjin immediately thought that there was a problem. What the hell is going on? You have been working in the Nightless Club longer than Yushi. How come she is a foreman and you are not? Besides, how can a hostess be capable of being a foreman? Xia Wenjin frowned and asked. Young Master Xia, I really don't know. Don't make it difficult for me. This hostess really did not know anything, but she also heard some rumors about Yushi's promotion. It was said that a big shot had taken a fancy to Yushi. It was a person that Brother Bao respected. However, how could the hostess dare to comment on the right and wrong of such a person? She naturally knew about Brother Bao's background. Who knew the consequences of gossiping? Why? Are you looking down on me? Xia Wenjin was suddenly a little angry. This feeling of being ignored made him extremely uncomfortable. Originally, he had a stomach full of anger at Yang Ming. At this time, he took the opportunity to vent. No, young Master Xia, I really don't know. You think about it. How can a small hostess like me know about this kind of thing? Said the hostess with a bitter face. The lobby manager also heard the noise at the door, so he immediately came over. When he saw Xia Wenjin arguing with the hostess with a red face, he quickly asked, Sir, is there anything that you are not satisfied with our service? Although the Nightless Club had a strong background, they would not bully people and guests. On the contrary, they were very respectful to some guests who came here for entertainment, but it was another matter if they deliberately came to make trouble. Of course, there were also guests who were not satisfied with the service. For this kind, as long as their situation was not excessive and reasonable, the lobby manager would still deal with it politely. However, if they were unreasonable, then they deserved a beating. How did Yushi get promoted to foreman? Where is she? You call her over. I have something to ask her. Xia Wenjin was worried that he couldn't find someone to talk to. It just so happened that the lobby manager came to him, so he spoke immediately. Sir, who are you to foreman Shin? Why are you looking for her? Asked the lobby manager politely. I am her friend. I have something to ask her, said Xia Wenjin with a black face. The lobby manager frowned. He didn't know who this Xia Wenjin was, and he didn't know what his relationship with foreman Shin was. Although this request was a bit strange, it couldn't be said to be excessive, so he nodded and said, So, I will ask foreman Shin and see what she thinks. Sir, what is your surname? My surname is Xia. You just say that young Master Xia is looking for her. Said Xia Wenjin. Okay, then you wait for a while. After the lobby manager finished speaking, he turned and went to find Yushi. Shin Yushi was now learning the experience of hotel management from another more senior foreman. After all, she jumped directly from the position of a greeter. She was not familiar with some professional knowledge. Although everyone in the Nightless Club greeted her with a smile, the old foreman was not afraid that she would endanger her position. Instead, she taught her everything. Shin Yushi could probably guess the reason for all of this. The people in the Nightless Club, including Bao Sanli, even thought that she was Brother Yang's woman. At first, Shin Yushi also thought so. She was even excited for several days. However, for so long, Yang Ming did not come again, nor did he contact her through other means. Shin Yushi knew that she was thinking too much. Perhaps Yang Ming did not mean that at all, but the people below misunderstood. The foreman who taught her everything was probably thinking that she, Shin Yushi, could not be the foreman for a lifetime. The foreman was just a transition. Being promoted to the deputy general manager might be a matter of time. Therefore, she did not treat her as a competitor at all, but respected her as a boss. Indeed, the old foreman, Big Sister Chin, did think so. To be able to sit in the position of foreman, she naturally had some connections in the Nightless Club. She was relatively well informed. Generally, Bao Sanli did not interfere in the affairs of the Nightless Club, but Shin Yushi's foreman was personally appointed by him. From this point of view, it could be seen that it was unusual. Moreover, according to rumors, it was a big shot of President Bao's life and death friend who took a fancy to Shin Yushi. In this way, Shin Yushi's transformation from a pheasant to a phoenix was just around the corner. How could Big Sister Chin still think that Shin Yushi was stealing her job? In this case, the shrewd Big Sister Chin naturally flattered Shin Yushi. Her words even hinted that if Shin Yushi became rich one day, she should not forget about her big sister who led the way. Shin Yushi's mood had calmed down a lot these days. She did not have the excitement and fanaticism of the past few days. However, in any case, President Bao put her in the position of foreman. It was also a rare opportunity. Shin Yushi was not a stupid person. Otherwise, she would not have been able to work in a nightclub with all kinds of people. She would not have been kept as a mistress by some bosses. Shin Yushi's vision was relatively high. She naturally would not be interested in the average fat uncle. In her opinion, even if she was kept by someone, it had to be someone she liked and had the ability. The rest was out of the question. However, Shin Yushi's thoughts had faded now. It was not a bad thing to be a foreman. At least, she was no longer struggling at the bottom of society and belonged to the management level. Therefore, Shin Yushi learned very seriously and cherished this hard-won opportunity. In fact, a foreman was a position that trained people. There was a general manager above and a waiter below. It was a position of coordination in the middle. It was not something that ordinary people could do. However, if one did well and got the boss's appreciation, the chances of promotion would be greater. Bao Sanli also wanted to train Shin Yushi. He did not know what Yang Ming meant, but he thought that Yang Ming's woman would not be mediocre and mediocre. Yang Ming had so many companies. If he wanted to find a woman, he would find a capable one, right? Therefore, Bao Sanli planned to train Shin Yushi first. If Yang Ming really had that kind of intention for Shin Yushi, then everyone would be happy. If Yang Ming did not have that kind of intention, then it was fine. The hotel would just promote a new young talent. There would be plenty of places to use her in the future. Foreman Shen. The lobby manager walked over to Shin Yushi and said very politely. The lobby manager and the foreman did not have a direct relationship. The lobby manager was responsible for the front desk, and the foreman was responsible for the hotel's overall waiter. However, the lobby manager was in charge of the front desk cashier. Generally speaking, the lobby manager had more power and was more trusted by the boss. However, at this moment, the lobby manager did not dare to show any disrespect to Shin Yushi. Rumors spread the fastest in the Nightless Club. The lobby manager naturally knew Shin Yushi's special status, so he was also very polite to Shin Yushi. Manager Zhang. Shin Yushi looked up and saw the lobby manager, Manager Zhang. It turned out that Shin Yushi was Manager Zhang's subordinate. Naturally, she was very familiar with Manager Zhang, so she quickly greeted him politely. Hee, just call me Little Zhang. Old Zhang is also fine. Ha! Manager Zhang's age was obviously a lot older than Shin Yushi, but the people who sat in his position were very clever and tactful. How would they dare to be arrogant in front of Shin Yushi? Manager Zhang, what's the matter? Shin Yushi naturally knew why Manager Zhang was treating her like this. Usually, Manager Zhang spoke to Sister Chin in a businesslike manner and was very serious. He only had this attitude towards her. A person who claims to be young Master Xia wants to see you. You see. Manager Zhang said, he is in the lobby. Young Master Xia. Shin Yushi frowned. Of course, she knew young Master Xia. There were so many guests in the Nightless Club. It was impossible for Shin Yushi to remember all of them. However, this young Master Xia was chasing after her. Shin Yushi naturally had a deep impression of him. Seeing Shin Yushi's frowning expression, Manager Zhang immediately noticed something, so he said, how about I say that you are not here and give him a warning? Forget it. I will go and explain it to him myself. Shin Yushi did not want young Master Xia to cause trouble again. She was more or less clear about young Master Xia's background. However, compared to Yang Ming, young Master Xia was nothing. Okay, I will lead the way for you, said Manager Zhang quickly. Looking at the backs of Shin Yushi and Manager Zhang, Sister Chen sighed. She secretly lamented that Shin Yushi, this little girl, had a good life. She was born with outstanding beauty and immediately jumped into the Dragon Gate. Sister Chen had worked hard for half of her life before she could become a foreman. Shin Yushi was just training in the foreman position. Yushi. Xia Wenjin saw Shin Yushi coming out, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Shin Yushi, who was wearing the foreman uniform, looked more charming. Compared to the previous greeter, she had more temperament. Temperament was mostly cultivated. People would develop their temperament according to their position. Shin Yushi had only sat in the foreman position for a few days, and she had already developed it. Young Master Xia, we are not very familiar with each other. You can call me Foreman Shin or Shin Yushi. Shin Yushi said faintly, welcome to the Nightless Club, but don't say what you said to me before in the future. Foreman Shin. Xia Wenjin immediately frowned. Oh, I haven't seen you for a few days. You have become arrogant. You became a foreman. Which boss's thigh did you rely on? Young Master Xia, please speak respectfully. We welcome you to come here to spend money, but we do not welcome you to cause trouble. Shin Yushi's face suddenly turned red when Xia Wenjin pointed out her thoughts. Although it was not as bad as what Xia Wenjin said, she did become popular because of Yang Ming. Shin Yushi, just say it. Did you ask someone to take care of you? Xia Wenjin noticed Shin Yushi's unnatural expression and snorted. Chapter 1091. Mr. Xia, please pay attention to your words. Manager Zhang listened to the conversation between Xia Wenjin and Shin Yushi and roughly understood the relationship between the two. This Xia Wenjin was Shin Yushi's pursuer, but he had not succeeded. Now that he found out that Shin Yushi was with someone else, he came to question him. However, how can you compare to Shin Yushi's current backer? Manager Zhang did not look down on Xia Wenjin. He also heard about what happened at the Nightless Club that day. Although the story of Yang Ming snatching the gun and fighting the gangsters was blocked, several parties still accidentally leaked the information. Although it was not very detailed, the less detailed the things were, the easier it was for people to make unlimited use of them. Therefore, Yang Ming became an invulnerable god. Therefore, Manager Zhang thought to himself, with your shriveled appearance, Yang Ming can beat you up with one punch. You even came to flirt with Brother Yang's girlfriend. Aren't you looking for death? What are you? Xiao Wenjin was a little excited in his heart, and he did not take care of his own words. He forgot that he was in the Nightless Club. Manager Zhang listened to Xiao Wenjin's words and suddenly his face sank. Originally, he advised him with good intentions. He did not expect this person to not know what was good for him, so he could not blame him for being impolite. Qi Jida, who was next to Xiao Wenjin, quickly pulled his clothes and said, "Third brother, don't talk nonsense, don't worry about me." Xiao Wenjin also became arrogant and said indifferently, "You don't even let me speak. You are not welcome here. Now you get out immediately, or I will find someone to invite you out," said Manager Zhang faintly. "Find someone? Find who?" Xiao Wenjin pushed Manager Zhang and said disdainfully, "I have to make it clear today. Shin Yushi, who are you relying on? I will find him." Security. Manager Zhang waved his hand impatiently and pointed to Xiao Wenjin. "Get him out. Cousin." Seeing the two burly security guards coming this way, Xiao Wenjin was a little flustered. He quickly shouted to Lu Xiaojun beside him, "Cousin, look." Lu Xiaojun was the kind of person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Just now in school, he didn't know the true strength of Yang Ming, so he didn't dare to do anything, let alone in this famous Nightless Club. How could he dare to find trouble in the Nightless Club? Wasn't that the same as courting death? This. Lu Xiaojun stuttered and didn't dare to be rash. The two security guards had already walked over. They directly reached out and pushed Lu Xiaojun, almost causing him to stumble. The security guards in the Nightless Club were not ordinary security guards. They were specially trained. Naturally, they were much better than Lu Xiaojun's showy appearance. Lu Xiaojun's kung fu was just a bluff. It was all showy and impractical. Previously, Xiao Wenjin said that he wanted Lu Xiaojun to do something. Lu Xiaojun also understood that it was just a casual remark. Now, looking at Xiao Wenjin's attitude, Yang Ming was completely sure that his feelings for Shin Yushi were not as simple as just wanting to possess her. Lu Xiaojun naturally wouldn't compete with Xiao Wenjin for a woman. He didn't dare to compete. First, to really talk about it, Xiao Wenjin's family was much stronger than his. Even if he went into society in the future, he would definitely have to rely on Xiao Wenjin's family. Second, his girlfriend's family was also very rich. There was a very large garment processing factory in the outer city. Lu Xiaojun was afraid that his girlfriend would find out and make trouble with him, so how could he dare to have any thoughts? Little 3, if you really want to get Shin Yushi, in fact, there is a way, but you can't do it in the Nightless Club. Lu Xiaojun might not be good at fighting, but he was good at using dirty tricks. What do you mean? Cousin, do you have a good idea? Xiao Wenjin's eyes suddenly lit up after listening to Lu Xiaojun's words, and he quickly asked. It's not a good idea, but... Lu Xiaojun smiled. Yang Ming's mood was a little bad because of the 3 pieces of trash. He wanted to sleep in the car for a while, but he was a lot more energetic after the exercise just now. Looking at the 2 broken cars behind him, Yang Ming sighed. Why bother? Is it so good to be a prodigal young master? So many people are scrambling to do it. After waiting for a while, Yang Ming received a call from Xiao Qing, saying that her meeting was over. She asked Yang Ming to go to the laboratory on the 3rd floor to find her. Yang Ming got out of the car, locked the car, and walked to the laboratory on the 3rd floor. However, when he reached the 3rd floor, he found that he was blocked by an iron fence before he reached the laboratory. A fingerprint lock was installed on the iron fence that required fingerprint verification. In other words, as long as the fingerprint was not in the fingerprint database, the door could not be opened. Yang Ming was a little helpless. Although he could forcibly destroy the fingerprint lock to enter the laboratory, there was no need for that. Yang Ming took out his phone and called Xiaoqing. "Sister Xiaoqing, I am at the fence at the entrance of the laboratory. I can't go in. I need fingerprint verification." "Ah," Xiaoqing said with some embarrassment, "I forgot. Wait a minute. I will pick you up now." Not long after hanging up the phone, an iron door at the end of the corridor opened. Xiaoqing walked out gracefully from inside. She was wearing a professional suit. The mature charm made Yang Ming somewhat impulsive. "Sorry, I forgot that there is a fingerprint lock." Xiaoqing apologetically stroked the hair on her forehead. She smiled at Yang Ming and opened the fingerprint door. "It's okay." Yang Ming entered the iron door and said, "Sister Xiaoqing, you look really good today. Don't talk nonsense. There is a monitor here." Xiaoqing glared at Yang Ming and said, "Don't be touchy." "Oh." Yang Ming naturally saw the camera in the corner. Otherwise, he would have hugged Xiaoqing when he came up. After all, he hadn't seen Xiaoqing for a long time. "Why are you looking for me?" Xiaoqing took Yang Ming into her laboratory just now. There were a few doctoral students in the laboratory studying something in front of the computer. Yang Ming glanced at it and didn't understand it. It seemed that they were designing a model of something. After entering the inner room of the laboratory, this was Xiaoqing's territory. There were no outsiders here. Xiaoqing naturally wouldn't be polite to Yang Ming. She directly sat on the Bosch chair, leaned back, and put her hands on her legs comfortably. "These 2 days, I am so tired." Yang Ming sat on the sofa because there was also a surveillance camera here. Although he didn't know if it was activated, Yang Ming didn't dare to be rash. Come to think of it, such a high-end laboratory would be installed with cameras to ensure safety. The camera is not activated. Xiaoqing saw Yang Ming's cautious look and said with some amusement, "The control authority is with me. What are you afraid of? Your students are outside. Who knows if this room is soundproof or not?" Yang Ming smiled and said, "Soundproof? Why? Are you looking for me for a confidential matter?" Xiaoqing was somewhat puzzled, but when she saw Yang Ming's lecherous look, she suddenly understood the meaning of Yang Ming's words. Is he saying that he wants to do it with me? Is he afraid that the students outside will hear it? Thinking of this, Xiaoqing's face suddenly turned red. "Don't talk nonsense. Do you have a reason to look for me?" "Of course, there is." Yang Ming put away his previous smile and carefully took out a mobile phone from his pocket and put it on Xiaoqing's desk. It was from the driver, Chen Xisheng. "What is this?" Xiaoqing glanced at the mobile phone and asked. "An encrypted mobile phone. It is said that it is used on foreign military spies. Can you see if you can decrypt it?" Yang Ming briefly introduced and asked. "Decrypt?" Xiaoqing didn't ask why Yang Ming wanted to decrypt it because there was no need for that. The relationship between the two people no longer had any doubts. Xiaoqing gently picked up the mobile phone and checked it. After turning on the power of the mobile phone, a prompt to enter the password appeared on the screen. Xiaoqing didn't dare to enter it casually. Instead, she turned off the mobile phone, opened the back cover of the mobile phone, took out the mobile phone circuit board, glanced at the back of the mobile phone, and said, "Wait, let me check the relevant information of the mobile phone first." After that, Xiaoqing logged into Google's English website, then entered the model of the mobile phone and quickly found the search results. The third-generation mobile phone produced by DCIKRS. After encryption, the password can only be entered 3 times. After the password is wrong 3 times, it will perform a self-destruct program to destroy the structure of the flash chip and destroy the data inside. It is a more powerful generation product than the second generation of high-voltage breakdown and burn. Xiaoqing looked at the information found on the computer screen and said, "It is difficult to recover the data from the burned flash chip. Only a few laboratories in the country can recover it, but this destruction method that destroys the physical structure of the flash chip is currently impossible to recover. That is to say, there is no way to crack it." Yang Ming heard Xiaoqing say so and asked with some regret. "This mobile phone doesn't have any data interface. It can't communicate with the computer. If you want to decrypt it, I don't think there is any way here." Xiaoqing shook her head helplessly. "But, isn't there an infrared and Bluetooth interface on this mobile phone? Can't it be cracked with these?" Yang Ming didn't give up and pointed to the Bluetooth and infrared logo on the mobile phone shell. "I read in some online novels that computer masters can directly connect to the computer with infrared or Bluetooth, and they can decrypt the mobile phone." "Oh." Xiaoqing couldn't help but laugh after hearing it. She shook her head and said, "Most of the online novels are nonsense. Those authors don't have any computer professional knowledge. Naturally, they will mislead you." "How do you say that?" Yang Ming asked curiously. "You haven't even figured out the most basic mobile phone communication principle. Indeed, Bluetooth and infrared can be used for data transmission, but it also needs to be established after the mobile phone has activated Bluetooth and infrared." Xiaoqing picked up the mobile phone on the table and said, "You see, this mobile phone stops at the password bar when it is turned on. That is to say, the program in the mobile phone stops after entering the password. If you don't enter the correct password, it won't continue with the subsequent boot instructions. If you don't enter the mobile phone interface, how can you turn on Bluetooth or infrared? It turns out to be like this." Yang Ming was also a computer science student, so he roughly understood what Xiaoqing said. In other words, it is like the Windows operating system. If you don't enter the password when it is turned on, no matter how you operate, the system can't be used, right? Almost. However, it is easier to crack the password of the computer operating system. It is much more difficult to crack the password of the mobile phone. Xiaoqing nodded and said, "Even if you turn on the infrared or Bluetooth, you can't guarantee that you can read the password because the infrared and Bluetooth functions of the mobile phone now only allow for file transmission. The functions are limited to the application area. It is impossible to operate the program area in the mobile phone. Therefore, the only thing that can operate the program layer in the mobile phone is the data cable. The computer establishes communication with the CPU of the mobile phone through the data cable, and directly reads and writes to the flash memory. It doesn't need the program in the mobile phone to complete the operation." "Ah." Yang Ming listened to Xiaoqing's explanation and suddenly realized that the web novels were all lies. Although he learned a lot today, Yang Ming was somewhat frustrated. In other words, it is impossible to decrypt it. "You can say that." Xiaoqing nodded and said, "There is another way to use the programmer to directly read the contents of the flash memory for analysis. However, this method obviously won't work. The flash memory chip in this mobile phone is specially made. There is no model and technical information. No programmer can support this chip. Moreover, even if it is read, it is hard to say whether the program is encrypted or not. Well, it seems that I have overestimated myself. It is really impossible to crack the encrypted phone produced by this world-famous company." Yang Ming shook his head and said, "That is not the case." Xiaoqing smiled and said, there are policies at the top and countermeasures at the bottom. The encryption and decryption of computers is an eternal war. It has been fought for many years. However, no matter how powerful the encryption is, there are always hackers who can crack it. For example, the computer's Windows operating system has just been released, and there are hackers who have cracked it. There are still some video game consoles and so on. They have also been cracked by some hacker groups. If this mobile phone falls into the hands of those professional hackers, they may be able to figure out a way. Hackers. Yang Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. What Xiaoqing said was indeed reasonable. In this world, as long as there was encryption, there would be decryption. The war between encryption and decryption had been fought for many years. However, from the point of view of the encryption technology being updated generation after generation, it could be shown that the previous technology was not secure. It was hard to say who would win or lose. Maybe the encryption today was more powerful, but it would be cracked tomorrow. And the day after tomorrow, a new encryption method appeared. When Xiaoqing talked about hackers, Yang Ming suddenly thought of Zhou Jijia. Moreover, didn't Zhou Jijia say that she knew the king of hackers? If this mobile phone was in her hands, could she think of a way? Maybe she couldn't think of a way. Maybe the king of hackers would have a way. Why? Are you interested in hackers? Seeing that Yang Ming showed a strange expression when he heard her mention hackers, Xiaoqing asked curiously. Chapter 1092. That's not it. It's just that I have a friend who knows more about hacking. I want to see if she has a way. Yang Ming didn't hide it from Xiaoqing. That's fine. Xiaoqing nodded and didn't ask much. After all, the identity of many hackers couldn't be exposed, so she changed the topic and continued, it's better to try than to do nothing. Right, did the jewelry exhibition go well? I read in the newspaper. The previous Zhuang Jingtian robbery case had already been reported in the newspaper. Although Qin Fei had tried to downplay the matter at the request of Yang Ming, there were many parties present that day, and it still alarmed the media. However, at the request of Qin Fei, Yang Ming's identity was kept secret. After all, Qin Fei didn't provide information. The media couldn't investigate it even if they were powerful. Therefore, the newspaper only briefly reported the bank robbery case and the news that all the perpetrators were arrested. I read in the newspaper that the second day of the exhibition was robbed, right? Asked Xiaoqing. When the report just came out, Xiaoqing was doing an experiment. When she got the news, it was already a few days later. She knew from Sun Jie that Yang Ming was fine, so Xiaoqing didn't bother Yang Ming again. However, now that she met Yang Ming, she naturally had to ask. Hee, it's nothing. It's just a few gangsters who overestimated themselves. They were quickly subdued. Yang Ming tried to be as indifferent as possible and didn't involve himself in it. And I believe in your ability. Xiaoqing was still very assured about Yang Ming's ability to adapt. After all, every time she was with Yang Ming could be calm and turn the situation around. Hee, what kind of ability are you talking about? Yang Ming asked with a smirk. Annoying. Xiaoqing blushed and said. It was rare for her to show the attitude of a little girl. Yang Ming also knew that this was a laboratory. He couldn't do whatever he wanted. Some things were just a matter of words. You seem to be very busy recently. Yang Ming saw that there was even a bed in Xiaoqing's laboratory, and the quilt had traces of being moved. It was obvious that Xiaoqing had slept here, so he asked. And I have been researching a new model of network transmission protocol recently. It is jointly developed with the laboratories of several famous universities in the world. I often sleep here in the laboratory, said Xiaoqing. Will you be busy for a long time? Yang Ming stepped forward and touched Xiao Qing's hair. He said, "It's easy to age if you stay up late. Try to get your subordinates to do it. You just have to command them." Ha! Xiao Qing smiled after listening. "You are bad enough to make others stay up late. It's fine for those university students to stay up late," Yang Ming said with a smile. "But you, if you don't take care of yourself, be careful that I don't want you." Xiao Qing naturally knew that Yang Ming was just joking. Moreover, Xiao Qing herself was very careful about taking care of herself. She rolled her eyes at Yang Ming and said, "The age of the PhD student is about the same as mine. Hee, I'm just saying. Then I won't bother you for a while. When you are done, contact me." Yang Ming picked up the phone on the table, put it in his pocket, and said, "Right, Yang Ming, that mobile phone is classified as a confidential device overseas. You should be careful when you hold it. Don't let anyone with bad intentions see it. Don't tell your friends that you don't trust." Xiao Qing hesitated. "If your relationship with your hacker friend isn't very good, it's best not to say it, so as not to cause unnecessary trouble." Xiao Qing was very proficient in technology. She also knew the consequences of this advanced technology. Since Yang Ming wanted to decrypt this phone, then this phone must not be obtained through normal channels. If it was publicized, it would inevitably cause a storm. That friend of mine can still be trusted. Yang Ming listened to Xiao Qing's words and smiled. Yang Ming also knew that Xiao Qing was worried about him. After all, there was nothing wrong with being careful. "And then I won't say anything else. It's hard to know what's in a person's heart. You should be careful," Xiao Qing said. "Ha, Sister Xiao Qing, why don't I tell the truth?" Yang Ming saw that Xiao Qing was worried about him, so he simply confessed, "The relationship between that friend and me is just like how you treat me." "She won't betray me." Xiao Qing was stunned, and then she understood the meaning of Yang Ming's words. Her face turned red and said, "Have I seen her before?" "You should have seen her before. That time at the entrance of the restaurant, Zhou Jiejia." Yang Ming said, "My classmate, and it's easy to say that she is one of us. At least she won't betray you." Xiao Qing nodded and no longer asked anything. After leaving Xiao Qing's laboratory, Yang Ming returned to the car and called Zhou Jiejia immediately. This kind of problem of decryption, Zhou Jiejia should be more professional. Although Xiao Qing was a master in the field of computer science and even participated in the formulation of some agreements, when it came to these peripheral technologies, she didn't know as much as Zhou Jiejia. After all, Xiao Qing was exposed to some formal technologies, unlike Zhou Jiejia who specialized in these peripheral technologies. Yang Ming. Zhou Jiejia received a call from Yang Ming, and she was obviously very happy. She also knew that Yang Ming was busy with the jewelry exhibition with Qin Mengyan and Lin Jiyun, but Zhou Jiejia felt a little regretful that she couldn't attend it together. However, she didn't know much about jewelry. Although Qin Mengyan also invited her to go together, Zhou Jiejia was afraid that she wouldn't be able to help and would cause more trouble, so she declined and stayed at school. "Jiejia, where are you?" Yang Ming naturally felt Zhou Jiejia's excitement at the moment, and he was slightly embarrassed. Sometimes, just a phone call would make this girl happy. "I'm at school. What about you? Are you done with the exhibition?" asked Zhou Jiejia. "And the exhibition is over. I'm also at school. Do you have time in the evening? Let's have dinner together." Yang Ming looked at the time, and it was basically dinner time. "Of course, I do. When?" "Now." Zhou Jiejia had already made an appointment with Wang Shui to eat in the cafeteria, but since Yang Ming called, Zhou Jiejia naturally left Wang Shui behind. Wang Shui, who was on the side, listened to Zhou Jiejia's words, and she was so angry that she pouted. Now is fine. I'll wait for you at the school gate. Yang Ming said. A few minutes later, Zhou Jiejie came to the school gate. Wang Shui had already gone to find Yang Ming. Although Zhou Jiejie felt that it was inappropriate for her to do so, she hadn't seen Yang Ming for a long time. Zhou Jiejie had to make a decision to value a lover over a friend. Zhou Jiejie got in the car and sat in the front passenger seat. Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun weren't there, so Zhou Jiejie could naturally relax. Where are we going to eat? Yang Ming waited for Zhou Jiejie to get in the car and started the car. Anything is fine. We can eat anything. Or we can buy something to eat at home. It's quite cold outside. Zhou Jiejie thought about it and said. Then let Auntie Li make something. There should be ingredients at home. Yang Ming said, I will inform Auntie Li and let her prepare some dishes. Sure enough, Yang Ming called home and confirmed with Auntie Li that there were indeed a lot of ingredients at home. She could prepare some dishes directly. Yang Ming instructed Auntie Li to simply prepare 2 home-cooked dishes because there were only him and Zhou Jiejie. If there were too many dishes, they wouldn't be able to finish it. Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun returned to the company together to help Zhang Bin and Zhao Sisi check the accounts and deal with some large orders received at the exhibition because the jewelry exhibition had just ended. They would probably be busy these few days. There was also a temporary dormitory in the company. Lin Jiyun and Chen Mengyan could also sleep together. The school was very close to the Huaxiang district where their home was located. Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie returned home after parking the car. Auntie Li just began to prepare. When she saw that Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie came back so quickly, she said with some embarrassment, Mr. Yang, Miss Zhou, I just started preparing. I didn't know that you would come back tonight, so I didn't prepare in advance. It seems that I have to wait for a while. It's okay. We aren't too hungry. Auntie Li, you can take your time. Don't worry. Yang Ming waved his hand and smiled. That's good. Auntie Li nodded and said, there are fresh bamboo shoots and cabbage in the refrigerator at home. I will make a bamboo shoot meat and a stir-fried cabbage. Is that okay? Okay, Auntie Li, you can prepare as you see fit. Jiejie and I aren't picky. Yang Ming said, let's go up and study something first. After the meal is ready, you can inform us with the internal phone. Call the phone in my small bedroom. Okay, Mr. Yang, Miss Zhou, you can go ahead. After Auntie Li finished speaking, she went into the kitchen again. Zhou Jiejie apparently misunderstood Yang Ming's words. When she thought of being kissed and hugged by Yang Ming before, her heartbeat couldn't help but accelerate. Previously, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun were there, so Yang Ming wouldn't do anything to her. But now that both of them weren't there, there was only herself and Yang Ming, so Zhou Jiejie would inevitably think more. However, although Zhou Jiejie's heart was somewhat perturbed, she didn't reject these things in her heart. She was just a little reserved on the surface. She went up to the second floor with Yang Ming and entered Yang Ming's small bedroom. Seeing that Yang Ming was sitting on the bed, Zhou Jiejie didn't know what to do. Sit. Yang Ming naturally didn't think so much. When he saw that Zhou Jiejie was still standing, he suddenly felt a little strange, so he waved to her. Why are you standing? This is your own home. Why are you so restrained? Oh. Zhou Jiejie blushed and carefully sat next to Yang Ming. However, there was a little expectation in her heart. Yang Ming looked at Zhou Jiejie's appearance. At first, he was surprised, then he immediately understood why Zhou Jiejie was like this. He naturally reached out and held Zhou Jiejie's soft body in his arms. Zhou Jiejie didn't struggle and fell into Yang Ming's arms. My dear little Jiejie, did you miss your husband these days? Yang Ming saw Zhou Jiejie's shy look and couldn't help but tease her. Aw. When Zhou Jiejie heard Yang Ming say this, she immediately felt embarrassed. Aren't we boyfriend and girlfriend first? I haven't become your husband yet, it's the same. There's no difference. Yang Ming said shamelessly, could it be that you don't want me to be your husband? Where? Of course not. Zhou Jiejie quickly shook her head to deny it. Looking at Zhou Jiejie's cute appearance, Yang Ming couldn't bear to tease her anymore. He gently lowered his head. Zhou Jiejie seemed to realize something. Her body trembled slightly, and she closed her eyes. However, her eyelashes were still trembling. Obviously, her mood was not calm. Yang Ming gently kissed Zhou Jiejie's lips. It wasn't the first time that Zhou Jiejie kissed Yang Ming, but she was bold enough to take the initiative before, but now she was a little embarrassed. The 2 times at the resort and the cinema at the class reunion, Zhou Jiejie was stunned. She even forgot to be shy, but this time was different. Even if Yang Ming was already her boyfriend, Zhou Jiejie was still a little shy. However, when Zhou Jiejie adapted, she took the initiative to cooperate boldly. Although Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun weren't at home, Yang Ming didn't want to fuck too much. After all, if he proposed it, Zhou Jiejie wouldn't refuse. However, Yang Ming felt that it was better for them to take it step by step. Otherwise, Zhou Jiejie's heart would definitely have regrets. After the long kiss, Yang Ming didn't do any other excessive actions. Zhou Jiejie's mood also calmed down. She leaned on Yang Ming's arms and enjoyed the warmth at the moment. Jiejie, do you know anything about mobile phone password decryption? Yang Ming almost forgot about the business. Originally, he called Zhou Jiejie upstairs to talk about the mobile phone, but Zhou Jiejie's charming appearance made him a little distracted. He put the mobile phone matter aside. He was afraid that he would do other things in a while and forget about the mobile phone, so he quickly talked about the business. Mobile phone decryption. Zhou Jiejie nodded after listening, but she asked curiously, I know a little. Is your mobile phone locked? It's not my mobile phone. It's someone else's mobile phone. Yang Ming handed the mobile phone from the driver, Chen Xisheng, to Zhou Jiejie from his pocket. I checked on the internet. This is the latest 3rd-generation encrypted mobile phone launched by the DCIKRS company. And I have heard of this DCIKRS company. I have also seen the news that they launched the 3rd-generation encrypted mobile phone, but I didn't have this mobile phone in my hand, so I didn't do any research. It turns out that this is the 3rd-generation encrypted mobile phone. Zhou Jiejie took the mobile phone from Yang Ming's hand with some surprise and said, the mobile phone that will activate the self-destruct program if the password is wrong 3 times, right? Yang Ming nodded and said, yes, it's that one. Do you have a way to decrypt it? I'm not sure now, but I can try. Zhou Jiejie held the mobile phone in her hand, looked at it briefly, and said, you really have a way. Yang Ming was pleasantly surprised after listening to Zhou Jiejie's words. Even Shao Qing was sentenced to death, but Zhou Jiejie actually said that she could try it, which meant that there was still hope. However, Yang Ming reminded, this mobile phone has no data interface to communicate with the outside world, and it is said that the flash memory chip is also specially made. It can't be read and written by normal means, this is not the main problem. Zhou Jiejie shook her head and said, there is no data interface. You can find the JTAG point to communicate with the CPU on the motherboard of the mobile phone and complete the reading and writing in the form of a fly line. Even if there is no chip data, you can analyze the JTAG point from the peripheral circuit by measuring the connection line between the CPU and the library chip on the motherboard, which is the flash memory. But the key problem is that even if the data is read, the password inside is likely to be in an encrypted form. This is equivalent to wasting your efforts because you don't know the CPU data. There is no way to simulate the mobile phone's program in the computer. If you can simulate it, you can use the dictionary to crack the password. Yang Ming could understand what Xiao Qing said. After all, it was the orthodox knowledge of computer science. However, the technology that Zhou Jiejie said was somewhat marginalized, which gave Yang Ming a headache. At least, he didn't know what the JTAG was. That means the hope of cracking it is relatively slim. Yang Ming didn't quite understand, but he could still understand the meaning expressed by Zhou Jiejie. That is not the case. Zhou Jiejie said, there is a more troublesome way, which is to use the hardware platform of the mobile phone itself and combine it with the computer to complete the cracking. It can be achieved from a technical point of view. How do you say that? Yang Ming heard that there was a way, so he asked quickly. No matter how it is encrypted, what algorithm is used, even if there is no way to reverse the algorithm, when you enter the password, the program will compare this password with the correct password. Even after tens of thousands of encryption, there is a comparison process. After the comparison, the program will perform a judgment and jump. If the password is correct, it will run the boot program. If the password is wrong, it will record the number of errors in the information area of the mobile phone. Once this number is equal to 3, it will start the self-destruct program. After knowing the operating principle of this mobile phone, it is still possible to crack it. Zhou Jiejie explained, in this way, there are 2 ways to crack it. 2. Yang Ming was a little surprised after hearing it. It was not easy to crack it, but Zhou Jiejie actually gave 2 solutions. It's just 2 solutions. Whether they can be implemented successfully is another problem. Zhou Jiejie shook her head and said, I just analyzed it from the common cracking ideas. The first one is relatively simple, but the risk is high. Find a way to find the communication point of JTAG, read the program in the mobile phone, and then enter the wrong password. Then, write the previously read program into the mobile phone, cover the mark of the password error, and let the program return to its original state. Although this approach seems simple, we don't know if it will cause any adverse reactions because we don't understand the structure of the mobile phone. We don't know if the number of errors in the password is written in the flash chip of the mobile phone, the CPU, or other chips. If it is written in other chips, we can't achieve the purpose of recovery. Instead, it may directly cause the mobile phone to start the self-destruct program because the error information in the program and other hardware is inconsistent. Chapter 1093. Information can still be written in other hardware. Yang Ming originally only knew how to use a mobile phone. He didn't know that the mobile phone had so many uses. At this moment, he understood why this encrypted mobile phone was used by many organizations. It turned out that it was so difficult to crack. Of course. Zhou Jiejie nodded and said, let's not talk about these professional encrypted mobile phones for military use. Let's talk about our civilian mobile phones. For example, the Nokia mobile phone that you and I use, the power of the mobile phone is encrypted. Power. Yang Ming was confused. It is the UEM Power Manager chip in the mobile phone. Do you know that there is an IMEI string code in every mobile phone? Zhou Jiejie said, Nokia's IMEI code is not only in the flash memory library, but also in the power chip. Only when the 2 codes are the same, the mobile phone will operate normally. Otherwise, there will be a notification that the mobile phone is restricted or 2 lines of English. Moreover, the power chip is written once and can't be changed. That is to say, if your encrypted mobile phone uses a similar technology, it will write the password error message to other chips. If it is the kind that cannot be erased, then the method mentioned before has no meaning. Yang Ming nodded. He also roughly understood what Zhou Jiejie said. Although Yang Ming didn't know the specific role of the UEM chip, Yang Ming could still understand its role in encryption. What is the other method? The other method is more reliable, but it is more complicated to implement. Zhou Jie said, the other method is actually what I just said. It is to cooperate with the computer to perform simulation operations on the hardware of the mobile phone. However, the communication between the mobile phone and the computer is more complicated because there is no debugging interface. It can only be inferred from the peripheral circuit. If you really find a connection point that can be debugged, then the mobile phone may be decrypted. The specific operation method is that after the mobile phone verification program is executed, the computer sets a breakpoint to make the program in an interrupted state. That is, the program is forcibly interrupted before the program jumps to the step of writing the error message. Of course, it is also possible that the program has an anti-debugging function, so you can only use a forced power cut to cut off the writing operation of the mobile phone. If this method is used properly, the real password can be cracked by brute force. This is also the way I intend to try. Okay, then do it according to your method. Yang Ming nodded and said, I hope it will succeed. I will publish some information and pictures of this mobile phone in our hacker circle. It may be faster if everyone studies it together. Do you mind? Zhou Jie asked Yang Ming for his opinion. It doesn't matter, but others won't ask you where you got this thing. It won't cause any trouble, right? Yang Ming reminded. That won't happen. Yes. Yang Ming nodded and was relieved. He didn't understand some of the rules in the hacker world, and the rules of each hacker organization were different. Yang Ming couldn't understand it. This was just like how Zhou Jie didn't understand the rules of the assassin world. The mobile phone was left with Zhou Jie. Auntie Li also called and said that dinner was ready. She asked Yang Ming and Zhou Jie to go down to eat. So, the two tidied up the clothes that were messy when they kissed before and went downstairs. Auntie Li's craftsmanship was quite good, but according to her own words, she was trained by the housekeeping company before she became a nanny, so it wasn't a big deal. However, Yang Ming believed that if Auntie Li didn't have the talent, it was useless to learn. So many people went to the chef school to learn, but there were only a few people who could be top chefs. Therefore, learning was one aspect, and personal understanding was also very important. A plate of bamboo shoots fried with meat and a plate of stir-fried cabbage were originally two very ordinary home-cooked dishes, but they became delicious in Auntie Li's hands. However, Chen Mingyan's dishes were also good. It was a different style from Auntie Li's. Auntie Li's dishes were more spicy, and Chen Mingyan's dishes were more light. Each had its own merits. Yang Ming and Zhou Jie naturally praised when they ate. Today was not Saturday. Yang Ming wanted to let Zhou Jie stay at home, but because the school started not long ago, the female dormitory was particularly strict. So, after dinner, Yang Ming drove Zhou Jie back to school. Is the mobile phone thing urgent? Zhou Jie asked when she got out of the car. No hurry. You can do it when you have time. You don't have to specifically study it, said Yang Ming. After all, Yang Ming didn't have much hope in the beginning, but Zhou Jie said that it was possible to solve it. However, Yang Ming didn't want Zhou Jie to delay her normal study because of this mobile phone. Watching Zhou Jie enter the female dormitory building, Yang Ming started the car. He didn't know where to go. Young Master Tian and Wang Shui went to have fun. Zhou Jie was the class cadre, so she had to set an example. However, Wang Shui didn't need to do that. Even if she wasn't in the dormitory and was caught by the tutor, it didn't matter. Anyway, Tian Donghua was already registered in the school, and his girlfriend was Wang Shui. The teachers in the department also knew, so there weren't any particularly strict requirements. Zhang Bin, Zhao Sisi, Chen Mengyan, and Lin Jiyun went to the jewelry company to work. Zhao Sisi, Chen Mengyan, and Lin Jiyun had already asked for leave because of the company's matters in the school, so it didn't matter if they weren't in the dormitory. Nowadays, universities generally encourage students to find jobs and start their own businesses in advance. After all, the purpose of going to university was to find a job after graduation, and capable students could find jobs or start their own businesses before graduation. The university also reduced the pressure of public opinion on employment and looked good. Therefore, after Zhao Cixi and the others submitted a leave request with the company's official seal, the university's leaders naturally approved it. It was meaningless for Yang Ming to go back to the school dormitory. It was also meaningless for him to go home. Xiao Qing was doing experiments again. For the first time, Yang Ming realized the feeling of loneliness when there were many women. Picking up the phone, Yang Ming called Sun Jia. He wanted to see if she was there so that he could give her a piece of jewelry. Previously, because of Xia Wenjin and Qi Zhida, Yang Ming's mood was in a mess, so he forgot the gift for Xiao Qing in the car. He even forgot the gift for Zhou Jijia. He only remembered it now. However, Zhou Jijia and Xiao Qing weren't outsiders, so it was the same when he gave it. Dear little Jia, where are you? Yang Ming dialed Sun Jia's phone. Og. Yang Ming, I'm Sun Hongjun. Sun Hongjun heard his daughter's phone in the living room ring. He picked it up and saw that the caller ID showed Yang Ming's name, so he picked it up. He didn't expect Yang Ming to say such mushy and ambiguous words in the first sentence. It made Sun Hongjun's face a little hot. He thought, I really shouldn't have picked up this phone call. Why did I listen to the sweet words between young people? Ah! Yang Ming was stunned, and then he was a little embarrassed. Previously, when he called Sun Jia, it was Sun Hongjun who answered. This time, it was Sun Hongjun who answered the phone. Yang Ming said with some embarrassment, Uncle Sun, where is little Jia? Little Jia drove back in the afternoon. She just chatted with me for a while. She was a little sleepy, so she went upstairs to rest. Her phone was left in the living room. Are you looking for her for an urgent matter? Asked Sun Hongjun. Nothing urgent. I just made a phone call. Yang Ming thought, I can't say that I want your daughter to sleep with me, right? Besides, Sun Jia has returned to Donghai. I can't accompany her even if I want to. Oh. I see. Right, little Jia has returned to Donghai. You didn't know. Sun Hongjun listened to Yang Ming's tone. It seemed that he didn't know that Sun Jia had returned to Donghai. These few days, I was busy with the Songjiang jewelry exhibition. I haven't contacted little Jia. Now that the exhibition is over, I called her, said Yang Ming. So it's like this. I also heard that the exhibition was handled by your Mingyang Security Company. The matter was handled very well. Not bad. Sun Hongjun praised after listening. And, it's quite well done. I called little Jia to talk about this. Yang Ming said, since she is asleep, then forget it. When she wakes up, I will ask her to call you back. Sun Hongjun said, do you have time to come to Donghai to play? Uncle Sun, you see that I am so busy every day. How can I have time? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. That's true. In our position, there are always a lot of troubles every day. Sun Hongjun thought so. Yang Ming broke into a sweat. He said in his heart, when did I become on equal footing with you? Did my status increase? That's fine. Let's do this first. When little Jia wakes up, ask her to contact me. Yang Ming said. Okay, when she wakes up, I will tell her and ask her to call you back. Sun Hongjun nodded and said. Yang Ming hung up the phone and began to think about who else he could look for. Now, there was only Wang Xiaoyan left. Zhao Ying was definitely out of the question. The previous matter had not been explained clearly. Now, even if he looked for her, it would be awkward. Thinking of this, Yang Ming was ready to dial Wang Xiaoyan's phone to see what she was doing. However, just as Yang Ming was about to dial, Yang Ming's phone suddenly rang. Yang Ming glanced at the caller ID. It was a call from Bao Sonli, so he pressed the answer button. "What's the matter?" Yang Ming picked up the phone and asked. If there was nothing important, Bao Sonli would not call Yang Ming. Generally, he would discuss with Yang Ming to solve it. Only when he couldn't solve it, he would ask Yang Ming. "Brother Yang, something happened." Bao Sonli's voice sounded a little anxious and uneasy. After Yang Ming finished speaking, he immediately said. "Something happened." "What happened?" Yang Ming also smelled something unusual from Bao Sonli's tone. "It's Xin Yushi. She fell from the corridor where she lived," said Bao Sonli. "Xin Yushi? Who is that?" Yang Ming was stunned. "I don't seem to have heard of this name. Who is Xin Yushi?" "She is the greeter of the Nightless Club. Now she is the foreman. The girl who was kidnapped by the gangsters that day." Bao Sonli saw that Yang Ming didn't understand, and suddenly sweated. "It seems that I really misunderstood. Brother Yang didn't have the intention of liking Xin Yushi at all. Otherwise, it was impossible that he didn't even know her name." However, after Bao Sonli's reminder, Yang Ming had some impression. He remembered the girl who looked very sweet that day. It turned out to be her. Fell from the building. What happened? Did her family sue the Nightless Club or something? Yang Ming didn't understand how an employee falling from the building was considered an accident. This wasn't a big deal. How could Bao Sonli be so flustered? Is there any unspeakable secret in it? When the association thought of the girl's appearance, Yang Ming's heart tightened. Could it be that there were some higher-ups in the Nightless Club who wanted to play with the unspoken rules? So that led to the disaster. Thinking of this, Yang Ming looked solemn. He said, "Baozi, what the hell is going on? Is it done by our internal people? What kind of unspoken rules do they want to play with?" Bao Sonli sweated after hearing it. He thought, "Brother Yang, you don't know what Xin Yushi's identity is now. She is your woman. Who dares to play with the unspoken rules? Isn't that courting death?" However, after listening to Yang Ming, Bao Sonli's originally nervous heart was relieved. If Xin Yushi wasn't the woman that Yang Ming liked, then it would be much easier to handle. The reason why Bao Sonli was so nervous just now was entirely because Xin Yushi was Yang Ming's rumored girlfriend. Bao Sonli was afraid that Yang Ming would be angry and blame him. Seeing that Bao Sonli didn't speak, Yang Ming was more convinced of his thoughts. He asked, "Baozi, what the hell is going on? Who would be so daring? Could it be you?" Because Bao Sonli didn't speak for a long time, Yang Ming naturally thought that the person who played with the unspoken rules was Bao Sonli himself. Otherwise, why would he be nervous? "Brother Yang, you misunderstood. How could it be me?" Bao Sonli quickly denied with a bitter smile. "The reason why I am so nervous is that it is widely rumored in the Nightless Club that Xin Yushi is your woman." "Mine?" Yang Ming was stunned. "Is there a mistake? How did it become mine? Maybe you were misunderstood by others when you heroically rescued Xin Yushi that day and fought with the gangsters. So, the rumors spread, and in the end, it became like this." Bao Sonli explained. Thinking about what Bao Sonli said, it was indeed possible. Yang Ming sighed and said, "But since she is my woman, then there is no possibility of the unspoken rules." "Then, you tell me now. What is going on?" "Xin Yushi went home after the day shift today. However, We just received a call from the police saying that Shin Yushi fell from the second-floor platform in her own corridor and was unconscious. Now, she has been sent to the hospital. Bao Sunli said, "We don't know the specific reason, but according to the police's judgment from the scene and the emergency doctor's examination of Shin Yushi's body, they found that Shin Yushi should have been pushed down. Moreover, there were contusions on Shin Yushi's body. It should be caused by a push, criminal case." Yang Ming's heart suddenly tightened when he heard it. He didn't know why, but when he thought of the young and beautiful Shin Yushi that day and how she was gone today, his heart felt heavy and unspeakable bitterness. Yang Ming was not a bad person. He was only cruel to those who violated his bottom line. Yang Ming was still very kind to ordinary people. Moreover, Yang Ming's heart was also very soft, so when he thought of Shin Yushi's current appearance, his heart suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. It's not clear yet. It's still not clear. After all, the corridor is a place where people come and go. Most of the traces are gone. The police only judged from the angle of the fall because it is impossible for people to accidentally fall from above. Then, there are only two possibilities. One is that he was pushed down, and the other is that he jumped down by himself, but this still needs to be investigated. Bao Sunli sighed and said, "Which hospital is Shin Yushi in now? I'll go and take a look." Yang Ming's heart was also a little heavy. "First People's Hospital. I'm here. Captain Xia of the Criminal Investigation Team is also here." Bao Sunli naturally knew Xia Shui. Although Xia Shui probably knew some of Bao Sunli's past, after all, he was now the general manager of the security company. He was a legitimate entrepreneur. The security company was also a subordinate company of the police station, so Xia Shui was very polite to Bao Sunli. She also attached great importance to this case. "Give the phone to her." Yang Ming thought about it and said to Bao Sunli, "Okay." After Bao Sunli finished speaking, he handed the phone to Xia Shui, who was talking to the doctor. "Captain Xia, your phone." "Mine." Xia Shui picked up the phone with some doubts, but after hearing Yang Ming's voice, Xia Shui suddenly realized, "It's you. Why are you looking for me at this time?" "I'm working." "I'm talking about work. That Shin Yushi is my friend. What's going on? Is there any progress?" asked Yang Ming. Yang Ming also knew that Xia Shui would not disclose some of the latest cases to Bao Sunli, but Yang Ming was different. Xia Shui knew Yang Ming's identity, so she would not hide it from Yang Ming. Besides, it was not the first time that the two of them worked together to solve cases. "Friend?" Xia Shui smiled after listening. She said in a weird tone, "What kind of friend?" It was no wonder. Shin Yushi was so beautiful. For Yang Ming, this pervert, Xia Shui naturally thought of something else. Just ordinary friends. Yang Ming sweated. "Hurry up and talk about the case. Initially, it can be determined that the injured person had a physical dispute with others before she was injured. There are traces of her pants being torn," said Xia Shui. "However, the injured person's hymen is intact. She should not have been violated. Then, it is also possible that she jumped down herself." Although Xia Shui said it simply, Yang Ming also understood some of the meaning. It is also possible. Now, the injured person is undergoing emergency surgery. It is not over yet. Everything has to wait until the injured person wakes up, said Xia Shui concisely. "I will go over now," Yang Ming said after listening to Xia Shui's words. Chapter 1094. Yang Ming hung up the phone and let out a sigh of relief. He thought it was a conflict within the Nightless Club. That would be bad. He had been coordinating these industries for less than a year, and such a horrible thing had happened internally. Yang Ming found it hard to accept. However, even if Shin Yushi was hurt because of other things, Yang Ming still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Although it had nothing to do with her, Yang Ming still vaguely remembered Shin Yushi's face since they had met. She was a very beautiful and sunny little girl. Now that such a thing had happened, it was not what Yang Ming wanted to see. Perhaps, she was also a little princess at home who was doted on by her parents, but she also had to work hard at the bottom of society in order to make a living. As a greeter in the Nightless Club, it could be imagined that her family was not very good. After all, if the family had a little bit of connections, they could also find a similar job for their child. Therefore, after such a thing happened, this kind of weak family often chose to deal with it in silence. If Shin Yushi's incident happened to Qin Mengyan, Yang Ming did not even have to do it. Qin Fei could clean up the criminal. If she fell into Yang Ming's hands, she would not even be able to beg for death. Thinking of the gap between them, Yang Ming felt a little emotional. Since he had encountered this matter, then he should take care of it. In any case, Shin Yushi was his employee, and she was also his rumored girlfriend. What made Yang Ming angry was that since there was news that Shin Yushi was his rumored girlfriend, then whether it was true or not, if someone dared to make a move on Shin Yushi, it meant that they did not put Yang Ming in their eyes. Moreover, there were a lot of things happening recently. Yang Ming thought that the person who made a move on Shin Yushi was targeting him, and Shin Yushi was just a victim. Thinking of this, Yang Ming quickly drove to Songjiang City's First People's Hospital. Xia Wenjin was at home. Xia Wenjin sat on the sofa with a bitter face, smoking one cigarette after another. His fingers that pinched the cigarette but kept trembling, and his voice was a little hurried. I killed someone. Lu Xiaojun and Qi Jida also sat silently at the side, not knowing what to do. Cousin, the previous idea was also from you. After the accident, you can't ignore me. Xia Wenjin saw that everyone was silent, and he was a little anxious. Wenjin, it's not that I don't care about you. We are also thinking of a way. Lu Xiaojun was also very scared at the moment. After all, in terms of family background, he couldn't compare to Xia Wenjin and Qi Jida at all. If he was made a scapegoat, it would be over. Third brother, I don't think we should be blamed for this. That chick jumped down herself. What does it have to do with us? We didn't push her. Qi Jida hesitated and said. Even so, if I didn't take off her clothes, would she have jumped? Xia Wenjin worriedly said. His body kept trembling. He couldn't control his emotions. Although he bullied the weak at school, this was the first time he killed someone. If you don't say it, who will know what's going on? Qi Jida was more courageous. He hesitated for a moment and suggested. But, can't Shin Yushi say it herself? Asked Xia Wenjin. First, you look at her now. Can she still wake up? Second, even if she wakes up, she jumped down herself. If we don't admit that it has anything to do with us, then what can she do? Lu Xiaojun listened to Qi Jida's words and began to come up with ideas. Can this work? Xia Wenjin asked with some hesitation. What's wrong with that? Now, many rich people often say that black is white. Aren't they still living well? Qi Jida said disdainfully, this matter is easy for me to handle. Let's just say that Shin Yushi is a nightclub hostess. Once, you went to the Nightless Club to play. Third brother, you drank too much, and then you had sex with her. Both of you were willing, but after that, Shin Yushi didn't want to do it. She wanted to take the opportunity to extort a sum of money from you. If you didn't give her the money, she would pester you. If you didn't give her the money, she would tell our school about it and let the school punish you. Then, I pushed her down in a fit of anger. Xia Wenjin listened to Qi Jida's words and was somewhat inexplicable. That won't work. Isn't that still my fault? Wait, listen to me. I haven't finished yet. Chijita waved his hand and continued, didn't she threaten you to tell the school? Xia Wenjin nodded and didn't speak. He listened to Chijita's words attentively. So, you planned to go to her house today and tell her parents what she had done. Her parents thought that Shin Yushi was a pure child, so you planned to tell them those dirty things. Chijita continued, then, Shin Yushi didn't agree, but we insisted on going. So, there was a dispute and a physical struggle in the corridor of her house. Then, when you were struggling, you accidentally pushed Shin Yushi down. An accident. Is it a mistake? Hearing this, Xia Wenjin also understood something, but his brain wasn't as good as Chijita's. He wasn't as good as Chijita at shirking responsibility. Bullshit. Chijita quickly shook his head. Third brother, why do you always take responsibility for yourself? Obviously, you didn't push her. Shin Yushi, that chick, jumped down herself. Why did you say that you did it? Even if it was a mistake, we can't admit it. It has nothing to do with us. Why should we be responsible for it? Yes. It's not a mistake. It has nothing to do with us. She jumped down herself. But why did she jump down? Xia Wenjin nodded, but he was somewhat inexplicable. We insisted on telling her parents about her behavior. When she was anxious, she threatened us with jumping off the building. We weren't afraid of her, so we used words to provoke her and said that she should jump if she had the ability. Then, she was agitated and didn't hold on to it, so she really jumped down. Chijita said, in this way, Brother Lu and I will be your witnesses. Even if Shin Yushi turns the world upside down, we won't be afraid of her. Can it work? Didn't you inquire about it? Shin Yushi is a virgin. The police aren't stupid, right? They won't not check, right? Xia Wenjin finally became smart for once. Why are you so stupid? You see that chick, Shin Yushi, is so badass now. It's obvious that she hooked up with a rich man. That's why she was promoted to the position of foreman. Think about it. If she didn't do it with someone, who would work so hard to promote her? She used to be a virgin, but now she definitely isn't. So, what you said is definitely not a problem. Chijita waved his hand and said as if everything was under control, moreover, I think the possibility of Shin Yushi speaking up is relatively small. She fell like that. How can she recover? Taking a step back, even if she doesn't die, she is a disabled person. The person who promoted her can't find a disabled person to be his mistress. He must have said goodbye to her. In this way, Shin Yushi's medical expenses are also a problem. You can give her family some money and pretend to be a good person. As long as she doesn't sue, everything will be fine, right? Maybe she will be touched and let you sleep with her. Ah. Then, she is disabled. How can I sleep with her? Xia Wenjin listened in a daze. Why can't you sleep with her if she is disabled? She is not disfigured, and she is not mute. She can still scream. You will still feel good. Chijita said lasciviously. That's true. Xia Wenjin was so tricked by Chijita that he suddenly fell into an infinitely beautiful fantasy. Lu Zhaojun was not Xia Wenjin. He looked at things from the perspective of a third party. Although Chijita's plan was okay, there were many loopholes. However, at this time, it could only be done this way. Anyway, Xia Wenjin's family was rich. If it didn't work, he could just spend money to avoid disaster. Shouldn't we inform Uncle about this? Lu Zhaojun thought for a moment and reminded him, no matter what, Uncle's network is still very wide. Let him go and try to find someone, okay? Xiao Wenjin listened to Lu Xiaojuan's words and felt that it was necessary to talk to his father to find a solution. So, Xiao Wenjin dialed his father's phone. Xiao Wenjin's father was in a meeting, but when he heard that Xiao Wenjin was involved in a lawsuit, he hurried back. In fact, the truth of the matter was that Lu Xiaojun came up with a bad idea. After Shen Yushi got off work, Xiao Wenjin followed Shen Yushi to a place where no one was and forced to sleep with her. Lu Xiaojuan's analysis was that Shen Yushi was now involved with a big boss. If news of her being raped spread, the big boss would probably not want her anymore. So, after being raped, she could only swallow her anger. In this way, Xiao Wenjin could not only vent his anger, but also get benefits and do what he had always wanted to do. Xiao Wenjin thought about it. This is good. There is no risk, and I can still exo Shen Yushi, whom I have always dreamed of. So, he clenched his teeth and did it. However, he found that after Shen Yushi became the foreman, she was on the day shift. That was to say, there was no chance for her to work the night shift, so he could only do it during the day. It couldn't be helped. He followed Shen Yushi all the way, but he found that the roadside was full of people. Even if it was a small road, there were many stalls selling vegetables. It was only when they reached the community where Shen Yushi lived that there were fewer people. Seeing that Shen Yushi went upstairs, there would be no more chance if he didn't make a move. So, Xiao Wenjin simply implemented his plan in the corridor of Shen Yushi's house, but Shen Yushi, this chick, was very stubborn. She refused to obey him. Lu Xiaojun and Qi Jida held her down, but they didn't pull down her pants. With a little carelessness, they didn't expect Shen Yushi to jump down from the window of the second-floor corridor. So the tragedy happened. Xiao Wenjin and the others looked down and found that Shen Yushi had fallen in a pool of blood. It was unknown whether she was dead or alive. Xiao Wenjin was dumbfounded at the time. He only wanted to retaliate against Shen Yushi, but he didn't want to kill anyone. Now that such a thing has happened, what should I do? Xiao Wenjin didn't want to go to jail. He was still young. However, Qi Jida and Lu Xiaojun reacted quickly. When they saw that the situation was not good, they quickly pulled Xiao Wenji and fled the scene together. After all, if something really happened, the two of them were also accomplices. It was impossible for them not to be responsible. Now, if Xiao Wenjin was fine, then Lu Xiaojun and Qi Jida would also be fine. If something happened to Xiao Wenjin, they certainly couldn't escape the responsibility, so they racked their brains to help Xiao Wenjin get out of the crime. Xiao Wenjin's father, Xia Changshui, hurriedly returned home. With an anxious expression, he looked at the three helpless children sitting on the sofa. He frowned and said, "Wenjin, what's going on?" Xiao Wenjin just wanted to tell the truth, but he was kicked by Qi Jida on the side. Xiao Wenji immediately understood and told Xia Zhangshui the story that the three of them had made up. Xia Zhangshui listened to his son's flawed words and sighed in his heart. If this was directly heard by the police, then it would be over. However, Xia Zhangshui had been in the business world for many years. He knew how to say some things. He roughly understood the process of the matter, but Xia Zhangshui did not expose his son's lie. After all, at this time, it was useless to ask the truth. He could only think of ways to remedy it. Xia Zhangshui pondered for a while and deeply modified Xiao Wenjin's story. Then, he told his modified story to Xiao Wenjin, Lu Xiaojun, and Qi Jida. Then, he took out the phone and dialed a number. "Secretary Wang, you checked the family background of 701, Building 3, Unit 6, Electric Carbon Community for me." Xiao Wenjin said, "The sooner the better. Find something and report it." "Yes, you must do it as soon as possible." After hanging up the phone, Xia Zhangshui sighed and waited quietly for the news. It didn't take long for Secretary Wang to send a text message. After Xie Zhongshui glanced at it, he picked up the phone again. Brotherly. I am old Xie Zhongshui. Xie Zhongshui said respectfully and politely. President Xie, why are you looking for me? Asked Mr. Li. This is the case. My son has encountered some trouble. Can you help to inquire about it and then deal with it? Said Xie Zhongshui. What's the matter? Isn't your son my nephew? Just say it. The relationship between Mr. Li and Xie Zhongshui was obviously good. They were very close. This is the case. Xie Zhongshui told about the trouble Xie Wenjin encountered. What is the background of the girl's family? Mr. Li didn't say anything after listening. He just asked. She lives in the electric carbon plant community in Renwan district. Her family should be the employees of the Yinching electric carbon plant. They definitely don't have much ability. That community is where the poor live. The middle-level leaders of the electric carbon plant don't live there. There should be no problem. Xie Zhongshui already knew this information from the secretary before he called. That's easy to handle. If there is someone in the other party's family, it will be difficult to handle. Don't think that the electric carbon plant is very poor. The factory director and director are all local rich people. They have a wide range of connections. Said Mr. Li, don't worry. She lives on the 7th floor. How can she be a big shot? It's the top floor. Which factory director can live on the top floor? Xie Zhongshui said quickly. This is true. Okay, I will ask for you. If I can help, I will definitely help. Said Mr. Li, then I will trouble you, Brother Li. I will visit you another day, said Xie Zhongshui. No problem. You wait for my news. Mr. Li hung up the phone after he finished speaking. Xie Zhongshui breathed a sigh of relief. Since Mr. Li promised, it means that there is a way. Yang Ming rushed to the Songjiang First People's Hospital and called Bao Sanli. Bao Sanli came down to pick up Yang Ming. They walked in the direction of the emergency room together. How is the situation? Looking at Bao Sanli's silent appearance, Yang Ming asked with some concern. Still in the operation. I don't know the situation. Bao Sanli shook his head, but he was very puzzled. Yang Ming was very busy every day. If Shin Yushi really had nothing to do with him, why would he come to the hospital personally? Shin Yushi's identity was just an employee of the Nightless Club. There were so many employees in the Nightless Club, the security company, the Heavenly World, and the newly established real estate company. If everyone was hospitalized, wouldn't Yang Ming be busy? Therefore, this reason was difficult to stand firm. However, since Yang Ming denied the relationship between the two, Bao Sanli did not dare to ask more. Who knew if the two really had nothing to do with each other, or if Yang Ming deliberately concealed it for some other reason? Anyway, since Yang Ming was here, whether Shin Yushi was Yang Ming's woman or not, Bao Sanli must do his best. He could not make any mistakes. Where is Xia Shui? Asked Yang Ming. She left first. After all, the operation will take a long time. Captain Xia still has other things to do. 2 police officers were left here to stay. If there is any news, just inform Captain Xia at any time, explained Bao Sanli. What did the doctor say? Asked Yang Ming as he looked at the emergency room that still had the operation in progress sign on. The doctor only said that Miss Shen was seriously injured, but fortunately, her head was not injured. This is relatively lucky. Her head hit the ground from the back, so she was only in a coma. However, the brain tissue and cranial cavity were not damaged, said Bao Sanli. But, the doctor said that according to the current situation, Miss Shen may be paralyzed. Yang Ming nodded silently. After all, in this situation, it was better to save her life first. Other plans could be made later. Have you informed Shinyushi's family? Asked Yang Ming with a sigh. Not yet. Bao Sanlake shook his head. Make a call. You have to inform them sooner or later. Yang Ming said, make the call now. Okay, Brother Yang, I will ask someone to check Ms. Shin's family information. Bao Sanli nodded and said. Right, the Nightless Club will pay for the medical expenses. Is that okay? Yang Ming thought about it and asked. Of course, no problem. Bao Sanlake shook his head quickly. He thought, the Nightless Club belongs to you, Brother Yang. You can do whatever you want. Besides, it was Bao Sanli who paid for the medical expenses. At that time, Bao Sanli thought that Shinyushi was Yang Ming's woman. How could he not be anxious? When the hospital said to pay, Bao Sanli directly swiped his card without saying anything. Yang Ming sat on the hospital bench and looked into the operating room with his X-ray vision. He saw that several doctors were still nervously performing the operation on Shinyushi. Shinyushi's face was pale, and her eyes were closed. She did not have the youthful health that he saw that day. Fortunately, there was no danger to her life. Otherwise, Yang Ming's heart would feel very sad.